heroin pills.
Slimies.
But first I'll shoot some cocaine. LSD in my eyeball. Getting into drunken brawl. Check my pulse and I'm okay. Oh yeah, guess I'll shoot some more cocaine.
This episode of Dopey is brought to you by Oro Recovery. They're located in sunny Southern California, created by Bob Forrest and his friends, Evan, Jared, and Bob. And if you've never been to Oro to get help, that's the place to go. Their team has decades of experience in treating co-occurring mental health disorders, including severe mental illness. They believe in treating patients, addicts, and alcoholics by use of compassion and connection rather than control. Their amenities are the best fucking equine therapy, sound bath meditation, surfing. John Bucati said it's like paradise out there. And of course, the potentially spiritually transformative sweat lodge. So if you're fucked and you're willing to go to sunny Southern California to get well, you must check them out at ororecovery.com. This episode of Dopey is also brought to you by our very good friends at SoberLink. SoberLink is the only high-tech breathalyzer system that keeps you honest, especially when cravings get a little too loud. You'll test at the same time every day, eliminating testing anxiety. Devices have built-in facial recognition, so it knows it's you testing. Tamper sensors flag any attempts at trying to beat the system. Friends and family receive instant test results, helping to rebuild trust and prevent relapse. Let 2024 be the year you finally make the change. Visit www.soberlink.com/dopey and you get $50 off your device. Also, if you're looking for a recovery podcast to listen to, check out Recovery in the Middle Ages. They discuss current topics of interest to the recovery community. They are two suburban dads in their pursuit of recovery, love, and life. Find Recovery in the Middle Ages wherever you get your podcasts or at middleagesrecovery.com. Hello and welcome to Dopey, the podcast on drugs, addiction, and dumb shit. My name is Dave. And I'm at my dad's house, and I just got a text telling me that Dickie Betts died. And if you don't know who Dickie Betts is, he was one of the guitar players in the Allman Brothers Band. I love Dickie Betts. I got to interview him once in 1999. He was drunk. I was on heroin. I met his wife, who I had just gotten into some brawl with. He's a great musician. And sometimes I'll be driving around with Linda and we'll talk about what our favorite song of all time is. And I've always said that this song was my favorite song of all time. Linda always mocked me for it, but I stand by it. And I love Dickie Betts, and I'm going to play some of my favorite song that he wrote and sang, and it's called Blue Sky. Anyway, rest in peace. Oh, let's listen to him rock out for a sec. All right, I don't want to go crazy with this, but Dickie Betts was my favorite. I mean, like one of them, you know, one of my ultimate favorites. And the famous thing about Dickie Betts was that Duane Allman had died just before they put out, and I might get this story wrong, the Eat a Peach record. And Dickie played both parts, both the guitar parts. He played his part, and then he would play the part that he imagined that Duane would have played, which is just, I just thought such a beautiful, kind, loving gesture that Dickie made to Duane. And Dickie was a notorious, supposed alcoholic, a prodigious drug taker, a lover of mushrooms, and probably other substances. I had the opportunity to interview this guy, Kirk West, last year, and he was the Allman Brothers road manager. He was also a photographer who shot a ton of 60s rock and roll, and he actually was Dickie's sponsor. And the Kirk West interview is up on Patreon, so check that out. Join Patreon. You know, check out Kirk West and all the other dopey shit on Patreon. Let's give a big shout out to Piz, who did this cockamamie song at the front, Everyday Dopey. Gotta love Piz. Congratulations. And I also want to give a big shout out to Dina LaFonte, you know, therapist and transformation tailor at Mountainside. She got 4 years this week, so congratulations to Dina. And I need to say this. I could not be more excited about a show than I am about this week's show. It is a throwback episode. It is a woman who you guys heard a few weeks ago. Her name is Kimber King. She is the woman who was famous for shooting fentanyl, or for calling the Never Use Alone hotline, shooting fentanyl in her neck, dying, and then being brought back to life. And Kimber King is the real thing. She fucking brings the dopey, like the serious, old school, big time dopey. So get ready for a real treat. This is one of those ridiculous dopey episodes, but Kimber is also just brilliant and funny, and she works for the Massachusetts Overdose Hotline. Let me get the number for that. It's the Massachusetts Overdose Prevention Hotline. The number is 1-800-972-0590. If you're going to get high and you are afraid of dying, which you should be, if you're shooting up and you're afraid of overdosing and dying, which again, you should be, call 1-800-972-0590 and let them stay on the line with you to make sure that you don't die. All right. That's the Massachusetts Overdose Prevention Helpline. And I got a few notes I want to read. I got some really good dopey stories, but first a few little notes. Hi, Dave. I was cracking up at the story about drinking cum every night to fall asleep. I think some of you are tired of this joke. I plan on listen, I don't think Ray heard the story, so I'm going to have Ray on the show and tell him the story. I think I'm going to tell a couple people the story. If you guys have a problem with that, send in an email to dopeypodcast@gmail.com. Or if you're excited about it, send in a note to dopeypodcast@gmail.com. Anyway, hi, Dave. I was cracking up at the story about drinking cum every night to fall asleep. My husband and I, too, drink cum to relax at night. In fact, we call it Relaxo Juice, which was inspired by you guys calling Xanax Relaxos. I thought you would appreciate that. Stay strong, Dopey Nation. Fucking toodles for Chris. Maya. I do appreciate that. Thank you, Maya. And then I got this note from our Australian friend, Ben. He says, I'll tell you something weird, Dave. I can't do an Australian accent. I'll tell you something weird, Dave. I can't do it. The longer I stay sober and the further away I get from destroying my mind and body in every way I can, the closer I get to getting jacked. Last fortnight, I dug out my dumbbells and I've been lifting them every morning. I was totally against exercise my whole life. Exercise had nothing to do with my recovery. I have a daily reprieve contingent on my spiritual growth, which I maintain is true. But all of a sudden, my body is a fucking temple. I did not plan this. Yeah, mine is not. I wish I was on your program, Ben. I won't post any photos until I'm more swole than Jesse. Shout outs to that crazy dude. Thank you, Ben. Speaking of like in shape and shit, I've been running again. I don't think I'm like born to run. I don't think I'm born to be in shape. I just don't. I don't know. Like I love sugar so much and running hurts my shins. I started back up on this couch to 5K because I'm going on Rich Roll's podcast on Monday. I'm going to California to go on Rich Roll's podcast. So I wish my body was more of a temple so I was ready for the Rich Roll show. I'm going to do my joke. I've been doing couch to 5K, but I'm stuck on couch. Where's the... No. Shit. Jesus Christ. I think I will be the least in shape person in the history of the Rich Roll show. But check that out. It's going to be epic. Another epic journey to California, which I am excited about. I'm going to be collecting interviews, interviewing junkies and non-junkies alike, which I'm very, very excited about. But I need to say first that this episode of Dopey is brought to you by the good folks at Mountainside. You can't talk about Dopey without talking about Mountainside, because Mountainside was where Dopey was born, in Canaan, Connecticut, in the smoking section. Me and Chris locked eyes, and the rest is Dopey history. And if you're looking for a great treatment center to go to, Mountainside is actually incredible. They have a full continuum of care, which includes every step from detox to long-term outpatient programs, recovery coaching. You guys know Dina and Tuan runs their holistic spiritual mind, body, soul program. They do yoga, acupuncture, sound baths, and they foster an environment where something as loving and creative as Dopey came out of. So please check out mountainside.com/Dopey. They made a little website for us, and they also have a phone number, 888-833-4922. If you're anywhere near Connecticut, give them a call and please mention that you heard about it here. Holy shit, have you guys heard of this show, Baby Reindeer? It's like, I feel like it's too early to really talk about it on the show because it would be too spoilery, but holy shit, it's a fucking dopey show. It's a dopey, traumatic show. Linda was like, Dave, we should check out this show. And I don't watch many shows with Linda. Linda only watches shows about cults or murders or death or trauma. And this show is like right up there. And it just relaxes her, but it freaks me out. I couldn't fall asleep. Tons of drugs, but they come at a heavy price, as we know. But check out Baby Reindeer. Send in an email with your opinion about Baby Reindeer to dopeypodcast@gmail.com. I got a voicemail. I would like to play it.
Hi, Dave. Celia here. I was on the 6 a.m. meeting this morning, and it's awesome, the Patreon meeting. I always wonder why I bother getting up so early for that meeting. I'm on the West Coast. And then I get to the meeting, and it's so beautiful the way you and the entire community rally around anyone who's struggling, and it's just such a great meeting. I could gush about it forever. Anyway, I wanted to send in, I guess it's a dopey story, but also a comment. I am a bit behind on episodes because I was listening to the Matthew Perry biography on Audible, and that took up a couple of weeks, so I got behind. So I'm now listening to the episode of you with the woman from the recovery center, and you guys are talking about candy flips. And I think that I have a strong opinion on what a candy flip is because of experience. A candy flip is definitely, you take the acid first and you let that set in, and then you take the ecstasy or MDMA, because that kind of gently comes in and like kind of boosts the acid. If you take the MDMA first and then take the acid, it's called a backflip, because it can seriously knock you on your back if the acid is a little off, or if you're not like super strong on acid. And this I'm pulling from experience way back, like, I don't know, 27 years ago. I was with some friends, and we were going to see a show at a tiny club in San Francisco, and we were going to a pre-party first. So we all took some MDMA, and then we went to this pre-party, and the host at the pre-party opened the door with a silver tray full of sugar cubes that were dosed. So, of course, we took them, but I had never really mixed before. And by the time we left to go to the show, I was like barely feeling my feet under me. And I had to stop at the ATM to get money for drinks and stuff at the bar. And I went to the ATM and I put my card in, and literally the entire machine just melted. I stood there for like 10 minutes. I came back and I just like looked at my friend, and I was like, I don't even know. I can barely talk. I have no money. You have to buy me drinks. So we get to the bar, and I walk in. I managed to get through the line and walk into the bar, and things are just going sideways. I can barely see. It's like fractal everywhere. And I run into this new friend who is so psyched to see me, and she's like, like trying to talk to me. And I was just like, I gotta go. And so I left the bar and I walked like half a mile to my house or apartment. I have no idea how I got there. And I got inside, and I was so grateful to be inside. But I was still melting down. And I remembered that Saturday Night Live episode where they had the guy imitate Jimmy Carter, and the person's tripping, and Jimmy gets on the phone and he's like, you just took some orange sunshine. What you need to do is listen to the Allman Brothers. So that's exactly what I did. I think I tried the Allman Brothers, but then I switched to Pink Floyd. I put some low lights on, and I just like chilled out in my room, and eventually had a really beautiful trip. And then, of course, an hour later, I wanted to be back at the bar, but was afraid to go. Anyway, so that's my story on backflipping versus candy flipping. And, yeah, that's it. I love what you're doing. Dopey Podcast helped me through a really dark period about 2.5 years ago when I was about to go back out, and you saved my ass, and all the people in Dopey Nation and their stories saved my ass. So thank you. Please keep doing what you're doing. Stay strong, Dopey Nation, and fucking toodles for Chris.
That is, of course, from hippie jam band Celia, who really educated. I sound like I'm from Trinidad. I'm so frustrated. Educated me about candy flipping. There's so many drugs I didn't get to do, combinations I didn't get to experience. I never got to candy flip. And that's going to be a regret, I think, maybe, kind of. But now I know that you have to take the acid first, and the MDMA soothes the acid. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And Celia is a very, very valuable contributor to our Wednesday morning meeting. Again, you do it through Patreon. Join Patreon at patreon.com/Dopey Podcast. Go to our Wednesday meeting. Thank you, Celia. You get socks. I think I sent you some socks, but there's like 3 different kinds of Dopey socks. And if anybody wants to buy Dopey socks, just write me wherever, dopeypodcast@gmail.com, and you can buy Dopey socks too. Isn't that amazing? So I want more Dopey listeners. Tell your friends about Dopey. Share it. We are at the center of a new movement of addicts band together in what we call the Dopey Nation. So tell your friends, make sure they know, and listen to the Tuesday show also. Please, for Christ's sake. And more importantly, it's important to say that this episode of Dopey is brought to you by the good people at BetterHelp. How is your social battery right now? Is it drained? Is it bursting with energy? Chris used to say I walked around with my battery at 5%. I am kind of in a middle ground, a little bit worried about the trip to California, but invigorated because this episode is going to be so dopey. It can be easy to ignore our social battery and spread ourselves too thin, especially with social gatherings picking up after winter. What's the right amount of socializing for you? And how do you recharge? Maybe you thrive around people, or maybe you need some time alone. Therapy can give you the self-awareness to build a social life that doesn't drain your battery. I am in therapy. It helps me feel better. My social battery is running thin. I do not do many social things, but I do therapy. If you're thinking of starting therapy, you should give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/dopeypodcast today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/dopeypodcast. All right, I want to play another voicemail. But before I play the voicemail, I want to say the Knicks are in the fucking playoffs. Knicks are the second seed in the Eastern Conference, and tomorrow night they go up against, or Saturday night they go up against the Philadelphia 76ers. And I'm worried. But I'm excited. Are you guys excited or worried? If you care, send in an email or a voicemail to dopeypodcast@gmail.com. And now I'm going to play another voicemail.
Hey Dave, hey Dopey Nation. Just listen to the most recent episode with Hank Azaria. Always a delight having Hank on the show. I heard you're looking for voicemails, so I thought I'd share a story involving liquid LSD and the time that I shit my pants as an adult. So, the year was 2018. The place was the Blue Ox Music Festival in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which I attended with my now wife, then girlfriend at the time. I had a recently emptied vial that had been filled with liquid LSD, which I had consumed in the months prior. I decided one of these days to fill said vial with water, give it a few solid shakes, and take a big old eyedropper full of whatever, crystals had collected on the sides of the glass, which ended up being quite a lot. It was quite a huge dose. Nothing I couldn't handle, being the experienced psychonaut that I was at the time. The real interesting part happened more toward the come down. Now, let me preface this by saying that my then girlfriend had brought a pound of bacon. She made us one breakfast, and the rest of the bacon needed to be cooked. She could not pawn it off on our neighbors, so most of that ended up being consumed by me. Something that's also important to note, I think a very common thing with LSD is that it increases your alcohol tolerance. My stomach was pretty full of bacon grease and a considerable amount of red wine. The night progresses, we're having fun. I'm starting to come down off of the acid, and we're, wandering around, meeting people, talking to new people. The last thing I remember from that night is standing with a group of new people, being, pretty drunk, and thinking to myself, man, I really got to take a shit. Next thing I know, I am coming out of a blackout, knocking on somebody's tent trailer that I thought belonged to us. That ended up not, because some very tired-looking woman came to the door, and I said, "This isn't my trailer, is it?" And she just shook her head solemnly. I apologized and, started to get my bearings, started to recognize where I was. And then I realized that I felt extra wet in my nether area. I looked down, and to my horror, there is liquid shit running down my legs from out of my shorts. And, I was pretty horror struck. Who knows how long I had been wandering around like this and how many random people's trailers I had tried to get into. I quickly rushed back to our trailer, cleaned myself as much as I could with baby wipes, and ditched my shorts in a porta potty. So to any sanitation workers that might have been at that event, I apologize for that. That is what happened. Anyway, now my girlfriend is my wife. David, tell Alan that I said that I'm totally on Team David for this whole next Tuesday, this Tuesday debate. Shout out to Fentanyl J, and of course, fucking toodles for Chris.
That was Brandon. I love liquid LSD stories. And I mean, I guess I love shitting in pants stories too. So thank you, Brandon. You get socks. If you guys have a great story, please send it in to dopeypodcast@gmail.com. And shout out to Fentanyl J. Linda and I went out over the weekend. We had like date night. We went to see Colin Hay, who was a Dopey guest, and we went to eat at Fentanyl J's restaurant. And Fentanyl J, when we saw him, had 3 days clean and sober. So, or actually, maybe he just had 3 days sober. I think he had just taken acid and gone snowboarding. But still, shout out to Fentanyl J. We love Jay. Look for Jay sooner than you think, as long as he's still alive and free, back on the show. Now, Kimber King brought the Dopey. She comes in a long line of Dopey guests and participants, starting with Chris, people like Fentanyl J, people like, I don't know, the greats, Jason Ricci, the great dopes. And her name is Kimber, and she came to my dad's house with her fiance or her life partner, Mikey, and she laid down the Dopey. So get ready, because this is like one of my favorite ones ever. But before we play Kimber, I just need to say that this episode of Dopey is brought to you by the very, very great people at Discover Recovery, quite possibly the greatest treatment center in the Pacific Northwest. Founded by our good friend Chris Paulson, who is an incredibly good Dopey episode. He is a therapist. Their staff is amazing. They strive to provide the best treatment possible in a region that has been historically underserved. Their medical staff, physicians and psychologists and substance use disorder counselors and psychiatric services are all available 7 days a week. Their accommodations are super plush. As Chris Paulson himself says, I'm not great at selling. We operate with integrity. You know, one of the co-founders. We are trying to do right by those we serve, and we have a proven track record. For more information, check out Discover Recovery at discoverrecovery.com, and they are in Washington State, and they have 2 detoxes and residential treatment centers in Washington State. And if you check them out, please tell them that Dopey sent you, and they love to help people like us. And now, without further ado, here is Kimber King. Returning Dopey guest, Kimber King. Welcome back to the show.
Hi.
And welcome to my dad's apartment.
I love it.
You do?
He's a sweetheart.
My father.
Your father.
And Joe Rogan.
And Joe Rogan.
Yes. Now, just so you know, you're the first guest, maybe ever, in a long time to have their own headphones.
Oh, really?
Do you feel honored?
I do. It's definitely an experience. Thank you.
Is it because you're a podcast? See, I was sure that Kimber was going to say that Dopey was her favorite podcast, but it isn't. She's a Joe Rogan fan.
It's actually not my favorite.
What's your favorite?
So the first podcast I ever started listening to was My Favorite Murder, but I don't listen anymore.
Why?
I kind of grew out of it.
Okay.
And I realized that listening to murder 24/7 was like really doing a number on my mental health. Right now, my favorite podcast is Dopey and Two Dykes and a Mic.
Two Dykes and a Mic.
Yeah, they're hilarious.
I need to find out about that show because Dopey has a very, very powerful LGBTQ fan base.
Yeah.
Lesbians love Dopey. I feel like lesbians more than gay men.
Really?
I think so. Gay men loved it when Chris was alive. Now they don't love it as much. But the lesbian, I mean, at DopeyCon, there's a lesbian couple who said the first time they made out was listening to Dopey.
That's kind of twisted.
I know. They said that my voice was an aphrodisiac for them somehow, which I thought was a great compliment. And it's rare to get a compliment like that. Yep. You should come to DopeyCon this year.
Where is it?
It's on this block, and it's in, I think we're changing the date. It's supposed to be October 12th, but it turns out that's Yom Kippur. And like, I think half of the guests we get are Jewish, and they only come because I'm Jewish, and I think we shouldn't do it on that day because of it.
Yeah, that's probably not a good idea.
I think holiday. It's going to be at the end of September. I bet you Steven wants to do something for the hotline, and you could probably rope it into a work trip.
Oh, 100%.
Steven's
going to want to come too, and that's fine. We'll do a work trip together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kimber King was the woman who infamously shot fentanyl into her neck, called a hotline, and became a renowned junkie.
Yep.
So before we get into like the nitty gritty of your story, what is it like to be famous for having, or, famous, kind of a loose term people are using these days. But how is it to be, notable for shooting fentanyl into your neck?
Honestly, I feel really proud of it.
I hear you.
Because there's so many people that have done this, and we got to represent.
Got to represent. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so excited to have you on the show. Yeah. And like I just showed Kimber the sizzle reel for Time, and it shows like Chris dying, and it's just that's exactly why you guys do what you do. Exactly for that situation. Like that situation where somebody's getting high by themselves and dying and their girlfriend is finding them is what you deal with on every day.
Yes. I just had this argument in my hotel room this morning, actually. My partner and I, we disagree on a lot of the things. We're both in recovery, and we both go to AA meetings, but sometimes we just don't have the same opinion on like, because I wanted to go visit the safety consumption site, the safe injection site, while I was here in New York City, and it's different for him because he's not doing the job I do every day. So I think it scares him a little bit, and he's like, it's enabling, and it is enabling in a way, but at the same time, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that service. It's kind of like the same thing. You can't keep it if you don't give it away,
It's a slippery slope because Steven, when he came on the show, he was supposed to go there. Mm-hmm. And I was planning on going with him to the safe injection site.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know what Mikey, what was Mikey's take on it?
He looked it up online because as soon as I said it, he was like, absolutely not, I'm not going there. Because we're early in recovery still, so seeing someone shoot up is like terrifying right now.
How much time does he have? How much time do you have?
He just celebrated 2 years in March.
Oh, yeah, we just did a big Mikey shout out.
Yeah, and I celebrate. Yeah.
Yay.
And I celebrate 2 years in July, so we're pretty early.
Yeah. Yay. Right, exactly. But so like, if you were to go, okay, I'm going to Los Angeles next week. Mm-hmm. And whenever I go to Los Angeles, I try to like retread the ground that I walked when I was there all fucked up. Mm-hmm. And it's never good.
Yeah.
It's always just terrifying. Like I'm not like dying to use or anything. I don't know why I go. Look, I like the first time I went to Los Angeles after I had been sober for a while, I don't sleep well. I get up early in the morning and I was like, I'll drive to the old methadone clinic just to like jog my memory. Do you know what I mean? Just to try to remember what my life was like. Mm-hmm. And I got there and I was just like traumatized. And I drove by my old house, terrified. I don't know if I went to the safe injection site, I would only do it to try to get recordings for the show. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that would be a good reason to go. And if you went, you would be learning for the job.
Yeah, exactly. We run a safe consumption site virtually. So I really just wanted to go and kind of talk to the people that work there and, just hear what their take on everything is and what they do on a daily basis, And that was kind of why I wanted to go. but it is really scary. Like I went to Boston a couple weeks ago for a work trip, and our office is on Mass and Cass, and it's all open air drug use there right now.
In Boston?
Yeah. Methadone Mile.
See, it doesn't exist in Manhattan.
Yeah. So this is where all the people all have their encampments, but they cleared everybody out. So now everybody's just standing there on the street. And I saw people shooting up and smoking crack right outside our office. And I was like, Steven, you have to walk me to my car. Like I want to make sure I get home. Cause like, am I going to turn around and just go get high in the city? So there is definitely that fear. And yeah, so
it's
tough when you are a drug addict.
Was there any temptation when you were in that situation?
There was, definitely. There was just the temptation of knowing people were using it out in public, so it's pretty easy to go get.
Yeah, I have a guy who I think I'm starting to sponsor, but that will be seen. And he was working a job, and he said there was a dude on the job who was getting high, and he just celebrated a year. Mm-hmm. And I know like that feeling, like that if you can get your hands on opiates, like you'll feel good that day. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I don't even know why anybody bothers saying what I'm about to say. I don't think about using anymore. Like I don't consider it. Like I don't consider it because I don't know. I think I've conditioned myself not to consider it, but I know what it's like to consider it. And you take one and like, it's just, there is no one. Mm-hmm. One is the big myth, I think.
See, I still think about it, but it doesn't go any further than that. Because when I think about, oh, that would sound good, then I think about what the next steps are. And I'm like, I am way too fucking tired now to do any of that. Like, you have to have so much free time. Okay, if I go get high, who's going to take care of the baby? That's the first thing I think of. And then it ends there.
Well, imagine like what your brain would be looking at the baby
exactly
afterwards. Like maybe you don't jump on a full run. Maybe you get high. Maybe you like get a Percocet or like some bullshit thing, and then you feel good and you look at the baby, and then afterwards, it's like, how do you maintain anything without being full on? Because you were full on. I was full on. There is no, like with using for me, I was never not full on.
And that's the insanity part right there, because you can convince yourself that one will be enough.
Right.
You know? And, I can sneak off for a few hours, and by the time I get back, I'll be okay and everything. But then it sounds exhausting to me at this point.
I think
with a 7-month-old at home.
Oh, are you kidding me? I've been not to mention like I mean, like the exhausting part is like the joke. Then the reality is like, where does she go? Mm-hmm. Where do you go? What the fuck happens? I think the thing that taught me the most about addiction and recovery, strangely enough, is cigarettes. Like when I kicked cigarettes, I like learned, I don't know. I learned that because smoking for me, it's like there isn't one cigarette. There's only infinity cigarettes. And when that's when it all cemented. But I don't want to sit here and talk about this shit. I want to hear your horrible story of addiction and recovery. Yeah. When's the first time you got high?
On anything?
Yeah.
So the first time, I drank first. I was like 12 years old, and I was living in public housing at the time. My mom was gone that night, and I had a whole bunch of people over. We got like a handle. Have you ever had Pop-Off vodka?
No.
It's in a plastic handle. It was raspberry flavored. It's like a big gallon, and we all were drinking it. And I lived in public housing, so there was like a bunch of teenagers running around this building, preteens. And so the neighbors called the police at like 8 at night. And as the police were coming in, my mom was coming in from a birthday party. And I had to go get my stomach pumped. And our parents all made us go to school the next day. It was awful. But the first drug I tried that wasn't alcohol was Adderall. I've always been a stimulant person. Like, I think when I started doing heroin, it was just like, it was for different reasons, but I've always been like, in love with stimulants. Like that's my first love right there.
Did you fall in love with the alcohol when you did it?
Not really. I drank all the time when I started, but once I found hard drugs, like alcohol was like, what? That doesn't sound like a good time anymore.
Who gave you the Adderall?
So we had a bunch back then, like everybody was on it. Our parents all had us on Ritalin and Adderall to function. And one of my friends was like, oh, my mom had this locked up in her safe in the bedroom, so it must be good. So he brought it over, and we all just started taking it.
Were you prescribed when you were little?
I wasn't prescribed when I was little. Later in life, I got a prescription as an adult because I just knew how to say the right things. And I was on prescribed Klonopin and Ritalin together for a long time.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how old were you when it came out of that woman's safe or whatever?
I was like 14 in middle school.
And you were like, this is the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was the summer before I was going into high school.
Do you remember any kind of like thinking, oh, this is what I want to do? Like how do you shift from Kimber normal girl to Kimber horrible junkie? Take us down the road.
I mean, I was a big partier. I mean, all my family was. My parents were drug addicts, alcoholics. So there was always alcohol and drugs in our house. So it was always around. And I don't know how this shifted. I just started partying more and going to parties. People had stuff. My best friend in like middle school, her sister lived in New York City, and we thought she was so cool because we never knew it. We lived in rural Mass, and she was a dominatrix actually in the city. And she used to come home every couple months, and she had coke, and she was doing coke. And I was like, she's really cool, and she does coke. It's like I cannot wait to do cocaine. So that same summer, I started dating like a guy. He was a senior in high school. And
how old were you?
I met him at my 8th grade graduation.
Oh
His sister was graduating with me. And
That's like 13th stepping in high school.
Yeah. And I would stay with my dad on the weekends. He ran a hotel in Manchester, Vermont. And I remember having him drive up and I snuck out my back door and he had coke and I tried it for the first time. And that was when that all started. I was like, it was off to the races.
And then were you like, I like drugs?
Yeah. I love drugs. I was smoking weed pretty young. Weed wasn't one of the first things I tried, but when I decided to try it the first time ever, me and my girlfriends were in my bedroom and my mom caught us. And she acted like it was a big deal at first. She was like mad. And then 15 minutes later, she came in with ice cream, brownie sundaes with hot brownies with chocolate sauce and whipped cream.
Yes.
And kept bringing us snacks. And that was just, it was... After that, it was just normal.
So wait, this is the first time you smoked weed?
Yeah.
Who was it with?
With a girl named Kate from school and my best friend Danny.
And whose mom found out?
My mom.
And your mom found out and she started bringing in brownie sundaes?
After she yelled at us.
Yeah. You were destined for this.
Yeah.
You were destined to get your life saved shooting fentanyl into your neck and going on podcasts and saving people's lives. Because your mother gave you a brownie sundae when she found out you got high.
Yeah, so it was all right, this isn't really going to be a big deal.
What's up with your mom now?
So my mom moved in with me recently. She's sober now. When I was younger, she was a crackhead. When her mom died, she went off the edge. She was a housewife. She never drank. My mom never drank, and then when her mom died, she just went off the edge and met this guy who is my stepfather. They're not married anymore, but they're still together. And started smoking crack with him for years. And until my brother got killed. And she, when DJ got killed, she stopped. And then she has chronic back issues. Her first surgery was in 1999. So she was on Percocet my whole life. And then it switched over to heroin. For her, she would sniff it. She never shot it up. But now she's been sober for a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she gives you brownie sundaes.
Mm-hmm.
Was she on crack or Percocet at that time?
She was still doing crack back then and on Percocet. She's been on Percocet since I was a kid.
In that era?
Yeah, in that era.
And did you know she was smoking crack?
I did at that point. It became pretty obvious. My stepdad went to jail for an extended period of time. I think he did 3 years at that point, and she would disappear a lot because she was just out doing her thing. So the way I found out was I had a bunch of friends over the house, and we were sitting in the living room, and someone felt the carpet they were sitting on, and they lifted the carpet up, and there was a crack pipe under the carpet. And I didn't know what that was at all.
One of your friends found the crack pipe?
Yeah, and he's like, this is a crack pipe. And I was like,
oh no!
I was like, what the fuck?
Were you like my mom? Were you embarrassed? Were you like, I need to try crack? What was the reaction?
No, I was really embarrassed. It was a pretty hard realization, but it all kind of started making sense at the time.
And what was your brother up to then?
He was in jail. He was in and out around then, but at that point he was in jail. He had gotten out for a few months around that time at some point, but he was in more than he was out.
What was he in for?
He had a longtime girlfriend that he would get domestics on, and he would end up in jail, and then he'd get out, there would be a restraining order, and she would beg him to come back, and he would, and then she'd call the police on him again. And when he went to jail, he was just very violent. He was always a violent person, and so he would just end up having to max out every time because he'd get in trouble in there.
Was he using a ton too?
Yeah, he was.
What was his drugs?
That's the thing. I was so young. The last time we saw each other, he had just gotten out like 8 months previous, and I was older then. I was 17.
How much older than you was he?
He was 7 years older than me. So he got out and he started selling coke, and I started doing coke with him. He wasn't really like thrilled about it at first, but after a while, I was already doing it on my own. So he would rather, I think he would rather me do it with him and not be out in some sketchy place.
And do you think he was doing the coke addictively?
Yeah, definitely. He did opiates and stuff, but I didn't find out about that until later because I don't think it wasn't like his main thing back then. He was definitely dabbling in it.
So like 15, 16, 17, your drug use is just shifting into higher gear.
Oh, yeah. So my mom dated a coke dealer. She married him, too. And so it was in our house, like Christmas time and stuff. We just passed the coke plate around. That was like...
Hold on. How old are you at that point?
So at 16, my mom did coke with me for the first time.
And what is that experience?
We were at my stepsister's house. Her husband's daughter and my brother was there, and I was doing it with my brother and my stepsister. And my mom had showed up to get
Christmas music is playing.
It wasn't Christmas time. No, not this point. But she was there to get shit from my brother, and I think she just ended up hanging out. And I was like, "Well, I'm going to do this." And she was like, "I really don't want to see it."
Wait, who showed up to get coke?
My mom.
Your mom shows up to get. You're at your dad's?
No, it was at my stepsister's house with my stepsister and my brother.
And your mom shows up to buy coke from your brother.
Yeah.
I mean, like, honestly, it's amazing that you do the work that you do, and it's really important. And it's like it's also like. I make jokes how important it is that you're on the show because you're so horrible. But in reality, it's like the stuff that you've been through is like so many people out there have been through similar stuff and nobody's talking about it.
Exactly. And my mom, if she hears this, she's probably never speak to me again. I love you, Mom. I really do. But it's really reality.
Don't let her listen to it. Nobody listens to this stupid show anyway. It's no Joe Rogan show. Don't worry. She'll totally miss it. She won't.
I don't think my mom even knows who Joe Rogan is.
Well, then she won't know. Then she won't listen to this. So that's fucking crazy. So your mom is like probably embarrassed, right?
Very.
To buy coke from your brother and you just to be like, fuck you, Mom. I'm going to do coke too. It's like, it's kind of, speaking of moms and dads, I know my dad had a very similar experience growing up in Queens. Grandma Pearl was always trying to buy coke off his brother Stewie, and my dad was very embarrassed about doing coke and smoking crack in front of Grandma Pearl.
Did you smoke crack?
Dad, why don't you tell her the time that Grandma Pearl was freebasing on Shabbos?
This is nonsense. This is total nonsense. Don't listen to this guy. No, crack was Cracker Jacks from a box with the popcorn, caramel popcorn. That was Cracker Jacks.
I like that you actually thought that this was possible. My dad smoked weed once in his life. He's never done anything. He drinks beer when he eats spaghetti. He's like, but it's a funny visionary. When Grandma Pearl was whipping up the freebase and Pomanoke.
Hey, in my reality, it is possible.
Of course it is. That's the story you're telling. But this is how my dad makes his slow exit. He lives to ruin the show. We'll see you tonight.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Sorry he's kicking you out of your own apartment.
He's got things to do. He's looking at him. He's on his way. He's doing stuff. So that was the first time you did coke with your mom. What was the Christmas coke?
Oh, well, I mean, that was just like normal every day. Like there was this one time their name was Ned and Trish, and they were these huge hippies. They lived out of their van. They parked their van in our yard and lived in this van all summer. And like we just did coke nonstop that whole time they were there. Like it was just every day. He was a drug dealer. He was an old guy. And he had all his old friends, and
hippie.
Yeah, no, he wasn't a hippie. The friends that were living on our lawn were. Like, they all, it was just everyday kind of thing. So,
When did it get normal, though, using with your mom? Immediately.
Immediately. Yeah, immediately.
And then what was your style like in your late teens? Like, were you a hippie? Were you what were you like?
I was a party girl. I really was. I partied all the time, bonfires. I mean, I guess I was like, I hung out with like...
The dirt bags.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know why I need to put you in a box. I just like to have a visual kind of thing.
Well, like, drugs are the greatest way to bring all types of people together. So I was hanging out with a bunch of different crowds because...
You had drugs
there
and
was
did
always
them.
drugs around, yeah.
How did you support did you have a habit at that point?
I did. I mean, I just got it from my parents.
The money or the drugs?
The drugs.
Right.
It was at my house. You know?
Like, so you're just stealing drugs, or they're just giving you drugs?
Both. So my stepdad was a really bad drunk, so he would pass out at night, and it was just the weirdest situation you can think of. He would hide it somewhere on the property. We had like all these like he fixed cars for a living, like older cars. He had cancer and he had beat it, but he was like very like he barely survived. So he puttered around the yard all day. That's what he did. And he would hide it like in one of the old cars.
Like bags of Coke around?
Yeah,
And you'd go on like cocaine scavenger hunts?
Yes, as soon as he passed out, we would watch him, try to see where he would like hide it, and then we would have a cocaine scavenger hunt, exactly, and go find it. He'd wake up the next day and go, he couldn't remember every morning where he hid it, so that was always a plus, or he'd wake up and be like, holy shit, there's like a bunch of this missing. We're like, yeah, you gave it away, you don't remember? And he was always like blackout drunk every night, so that was it.
See, that's the advantage of being a budding drug addict, alcoholic with a total alcoholic stepdad who's selling Coke. And that's the disadvantage of being a blackout drunk and a Coke dealer.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a Coke dealer, to be a blackout drunk is not a good strategy.
No, not at all. I mean, and it was like his daughter, my stepsister, my mom, and I, you know what I mean? It was like...
You guys were the ones who would steal it.
Yeah.
Then you guys had a weird fucking cryptic bond, I bet.
Oh, so bad. So bad. And it's taken my mom and I like a lot to have like a normal relationship now, and I'm really enjoying it. But there's like a lot of like trauma bonding that happened between us all.
Explain trauma bonding.
Like, just, we went through some really hellish shit together, and it brings you together. You're like, oh yeah, like we have this bond because we saw some shit together.
Right. It's funny. It's like those bonds are almost like the strongest bonds that ever get formed, and they're hard to get past the trauma. Now, how does your addiction kind of progress in that situation? Like, because obviously it's a weird thing to be living in this world where there's drugs that are free that you're doing with your mother and your sister, and like you're probably developing a tolerance, and you're probably developing like a worldview that says this is how life works.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to consider coming on the show that how much of this was I mean, I blame my whole heroin addiction on my dad.
I don't blame it on her, though.
He's never done anything really wrong.
Yeah.
But how hard is it to talk about?
It's not hard. I just airing my mom is such a private person, but I think people that have like a lot of things to hide are private people. My whole family is like that. I find out new shit about them every day. My mom has 14 brothers and sisters and counting. She has a bunch that she's never met before. And then my dad has 8. So, like, I have a huge family, and they're all like that. And they're all alcoholics and drunks and addicts, even though they don't admit to it. So it's hard coming and talking about her because she really was doing the best she could at the time. There was just a lot going on. Like, she was a very broken person. And now that I'm older, I can see all, like, the disconnects in her life. Like, it really is, like, generational trauma. Like, learning about my family and knowing the way you learn why people are the way they are, and I give them a lot of grace. Like, my mom is a strong ass bitch. She really is, and she did the best she could. And the best thing I could do to honor her is stay sober and not raise my daughter the way our family has raised each other.
And there's also like a shit ton of redemption that your mother found a year. You know, your mother found her way to it, and she's like, you guys are now bonding over the baby, and she gets to be a grandmother, and it can be in the past.
Yeah.
And I think, like, because I see the pain on you, but the point is, where we get to is here.
Yeah.
You know, so like ultimately it all, and then even more than that, like your whole life is to be of service. And this story is of service. And it's like there is a way to be in like one of the worst drug addicted situations and actually get out of it. Like that's a huge lesson.
And plus, when everything happened with my brother, we got hounded by newspapers, and like they would come knocking on our doors. They tore my mother and my brother apart. Like they made him seem like the worst person that ever existed when he got killed. And it always killed me that my mom never had any voice in that. And now like now I'm sober and I'm doing all these things and really can turn it into like a positive thing and be able to talk about my brother in a positive light.
Right. And even so, like I see you, I mean, it's very emotional and it's
Yeah.
very painful. How old were you when your brother got killed?
I was 17. He was 24.
When he died. So what was that story?
So like I said, my mother was doing drugs. My brother had just gotten out of jail a couple months previous, and he was living in, I don't know if his real dad was living in Idaho or Alaska at the time, because he works on the slopes. And he went to move in with his dad, and he didn't raise my brother, so they didn't get along very well. And DJ ended up coming back. So he was living up in Mass with us, and he was doing drugs. My mom was doing drugs. They ended up, I'll never know the real story because there was so much that happened, but he went into somebody's house, which was my stepsister's aunt's house, and got killed. There were drug dealers from they were from the city here, and they killed him. They stabbed my brother and stabbed him to death. There was 2 different kinds of stab wounds. He got stabbed 32 times.
Oh my God.
And my mom and my stepsister were out in the car waiting for him. It was like a cul-de-sac in a trailer park. And he wasn't answering his phone, but he was like, they didn't want to go in. You know how it is. Drug dealers are like one person only.
Sure.
And so they walked up to the house to get him, and when they got up there, he was like crawling out of the house. And I don't know if they left their cell phones in the car, what happened. Obviously they weren't like expecting that. So my mom started banging on trailers. Monique started trying to, her and my mom tried to stop bleeding. He ended up bleeding out of his femoral artery in his leg. They had like sliced him down, and he bled to death, like crying for my mom. And so paramedics finally came. My brother was wanted at the time. He had punched a cop, like an ex-cop, in the face a couple weeks previous. He was my stepsister's landlord. He called my stepsister a little bitch. My brother fucking laid him out. He was a retired police officer. So when he got there, the cops were just like, "Oh, Mr. Walters, do you have any warrants?" He's dying. He died before the ambulance got there. And they all
the cops don't spring into action to save his life.
No, not at all. And they get to the hospital. He's dead already. My mom doesn't know that. She's like on top of him. Somehow the family gets called in Vermont, and my mom, this was at like 1 a.m. I was at a friend's house that night. I didn't even know what was going on. So her sister, my Aunt Kimmy, I'm named after her, she came, and my mom was standing on the curb outside the hospital. The cops showed up and put her in a cruiser and brought her in for like 8 hours of questioning. She thinks she doesn't know if her kids dead or alive. She was out of her mind, and they questioned her. My mom ended up being the only person out of everybody involved to be charged.
With what? Possession?
No, withholding information. They gave her a felony over that. He got away on self-defense, the guy who killed him. He died 2 years ago now. I would like Google search him when I was like super strung out all the time trying to find him. But funny enough, he got shot to death in front of his mother's house here or in the Bronx. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Talk about karma.
Well, listen, it's a horrible end to your brother's story, and it's a horrible end to that guy's story. Because like what you were saying in the first place, it's like, how do we have the only way we get through our life is by being as loving and compassionate as we possibly can. And being in active addiction, things that people do are like unspeakably wrong and horrible. And it's terrible. It's like I'm absorbing, your pain, and I'm sorry. It sucks.
Yeah, it was a long time ago now. It is hard, but I think the reason why I've been able to get sober and for real is because I've finally been able to like let go of it all. When I found out that the guy was dead, I thought that I was going to be happy. And when I found out, I felt nothing. And now I wish he was still alive so I could have an honest conversation with him about
And find out what
Isn't
happened.
that crazy? All those years I wished his death. And now I wish he was here so we could just talk about it. Because he was 19. He was a scared little kid. Like, there had to have been something that happened that I don't know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, also they're both like crazy drug dealers who are violent and they're young.
Yeah.
You know, your brother's not even 25, and this kid was however old, he was 19 when he killed your brother.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a horrible story, and it's a common story, or you know, not that common, but in that world, people get killed all the time, and nobody has much wisdom or sense, and they got the worst of it. And so, how did it impact you then?
Oh, it was terrible. I didn't finish high school. My mom was like,
How close were you guys?
It's tough because he was in jail a lot. So we were spending a lot of time together as like adults. I was 17. I think we were finally in a place where we weren't like just beating the shit out of each other all the time because that's just how it was. And so we were getting close. But we were very close. Like we grew up together. There were those couple years that he was in jail and we didn't really see each other. But he was like the closest thing I had to like. And it was, even though he was doing drugs, when he would come home from jail, like he was like my like foundation because everything was so chaotic. When he would come home, I know like I could like count on him.
Right, because your mom was in her situation and your stepdad was in his situation, and then your dad came home and you guys were like a team.
No, my brother.
That's what I meant. Your brother came home and you guys were like a team.
Yeah.
So then what happens?
A lot of drama. It was just like a lot of the court case got drawn out for years, and the guy got off. He did 5 years and got out. I ended up in and out of the hospital a lot. I was like dealing with a really bad eating disorder. It was just like a lot of control at the time that I didn't have and trying to get, you know.
Anorexia or bulimia or both?
Bulimia, yeah. And I don't know, I partied all the time. So right around this time, I met this girl named Maria through a mutual friend. And we had met each other like 2 or 3 weeks before my brother had died. And I was at a hardcore show in Bennington and I was sniffing Ritalin. And my best friend Parker was like, wouldn't do it with me. She just didn't do drugs. She's like, oh, I know this girl that would probably do these with you because I wanted someone to get high with me. So she introduced me to Maria. And that was like, literally, she's still my best friend. We haven't spoken in a little while now, but that was like, it started like a whole different page in my life. Like she was my road dog. And I knew this girl for 2 weeks. DJ died. But before DJ died, she had to have an abortion. I went with her to this abortion, trauma bond, all the way. Then she was the only friend that showed up for my brother's funeral. She helped me get ready for it. My mom was like pretty much catatonic at the time, so I was the one that took care of all the funeral arrangements. And Maria helped me. Like she went and bought my like dress and stuff, like stuff I didn't have time to do and didn't want to do. And I just disappeared with her a lot. Like she had a car. She worked for her parents. They owned a real estate business. And so she did all the administrative stuff for them. So we would like just stay up all night going to parties, and she would just stay up, do like all the paperwork. She would get paid for it as she did it. So it was like we constantly had money too.
Like work trip constantly.
Yeah.
Everything is paid for.
We'd have to go to these foreclosed houses and like take pictures and stuff that they were buying or whatever. It was, but it all
find stuff and keep stuff and stuff.
Yeah, you got to clean them out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I know I was running away, but I had a lot of fun after that. Mostly
prescribed amphetamines at that point?
Yeah. So I had a huge addiction to Adderall and Ritalin.
And this is in the bulimic state?
Yeah.
So that makes you fucking skinny as fuck.
Yes, I was very skinny.
And like, what was bulimia? What was bulimia like? I mean, I bet you that would help people if you explain your bulimic situation.
Yeah. So, I mean, my favorite thing, we would just like go and we would hit up like all the different fast food restaurants, get what we liked from each one. We would sit in the car and then we would just go throw up together.
Wow.
Yeah. And she was the same way. So we would do that. Like, that was like our whole day. So food was like a huge addiction for me too.
Like getting high on food, throwing it up and then getting high on stimulants?
Yeah. And then just not eat for a few days.
Were you taking benzos too?
Not around that time, no.
Were you
That came
smoking weed?
later. No.
So how did you deal with the stimulants all the time?
I just never slept. It's crazy to think about, like all the times we fell asleep at the wheel and shit and didn't die. We crashed the car so many times. I've been in so many car accidents. But yeah, we drank a lot. I drank a lot back then.
And that would be the thing.
This was like around the time the original Four Locos just came out. But we like Sparks. So it was the same thing as the original Four Loko, but it was just like this one flavor, and they were called Sparks. I was 17 with a fake ID. Never got turned away with that thing. So we would just drive around to like Boston. We had friends that were at all these different colleges. So we would just drive around and stay at different people's houses, go to parties, find people that we could get coke from, pills from. She dated this guy at the time that had an Adderall prescription. We would take his bottle of Adderall, and it was like the time release beads. So we'd empty out half the pill, put it back together, and put them back in his bottle. And we would just have like a big baggie.
That was the pinching Adderall system.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And so we'd have the pill crusher. You just throw the beads into the pill crusher, or if you're really in a pinch, just sniff it out of the bag. So we had like the whole setup in the car. Whoever wasn't driving was the one like crushing up the pills and drinking. I mean, we were both drinking.
And meanwhile, he was like, I think my tolerance to Adderall is getting crazy.
Yes, exactly.
Did you ever hear him say that?
Yes. So this is going to sound terrible, but he went to this college called Landmark College up in like rural Vermont, that you can only get into this college if you have a learning disability. So, he was going there, and I had a blow up mattress under his like dorm, his bed in his dorm. So we would like stay at his dorm. I would sleep there under the bed. They would sleep on the actual bed, and we would just party 24/7. Like it got to this point, he had like
with all the learning disabled Landmark students.
Yes, because they all had Adderall.
Shout out to all the Landmark students in Dopey Nation.
They all had Adderall prescriptions,
right.
So it was like heaven on earth there. And it got to this point, he got sick. He got something called Steven Johnson's disease. So he had to leave school, but we stayed and we're partying with all
What's Steven Johnson's disease?
I don't know. So
Do you think Steven Johnson was the first person to have this disease?
Yes. So it has something to do with being allergic to I remember he accidentally took some kind of like cough and cold medicine, and it had something in it that triggered the disease.
Oh my God.
So he had to leave school, but we stayed, and we were going to like the frat houses and like.
So he was gone and you guys stayed?
Yes, for months partying at this college. And probably
Were there just
told
idiots?
him,
Was it just all idiots there?
No, they were just like.
I'm just playing.
And so one night we were hammer drunk. Someone carried me back to the dorms. Maria was still at the frat house at the fire, and I hear there's a knock at the door, and the guy whose room it is, he's like, Kimber, you got to go to the door. And I'm like, it's like 4 a.m. I'm so drunk. I go to the door. It's fucking Kyle, her boyfriend, and he's like he was just like in amazement that we were there. Somebody must have finally called him.
These Adderalls do nothing.
He's like, where's Maria? And I'm like, I don't know. So I go find her, and I sneak her out of the college. We're hammered.
Where was she?
She was in someone else's dorm room. I had to hunt her down, and I had to put her in the car and get her out of there before Kyle found her. I fell asleep at the wheel. The rumble strip saved us, and I had to park us at the Cumbies until we had to sleep it off.
I think it's called Cumby. Are you sure? From what I understand, people refer to it as Cumby and not Cumbies. Okay, so was that the end of Maria and Steven Johnson?
Yeah.
What was his name?
His name was Kyle.
Shout out to Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle Lownbach.
And do you remember any time where he did it though and was like, "What the fuck"?
Yes, he did actually, because the capsules kept falling apart because they had been unhooked.
He's like, they're not even making these good anymore. Did he ever suspect or no?
I don't think so, because he would just give them to Maria whenever she asked for them.
Right, so why would Maria be stealing
So why would she be taking
time?
them? Yeah.
Yeah, this is good. I like that story a lot. So shout out to Kyle and all the good people at Stephen Johnson University. No, what's the college called?
Landmark College.
If anybody out there went to Landmark College, please send in an email to dopeypodcast@gmail.com. And if anybody has Stephen Johnson's disease, please send in an email to Dopey Podcast. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, dopeypodcast@gmail.com. So And you're still a kid at this point.
Yeah, I was like 17, 18.
And Maria was like the door opening to your drug addiction.
Oh, yeah, for sure. She had connections that I didn't have. She was like 2 years older than me, so she had been like doing it a little longer than I had.
It's funny how like all one of us needs is another one of us.
But we were like the same fucking person. We still are. And it was the perfect storm. It really was.
So how did it? What happened next? When did you do heroin for the first time?
Oh, so that.
Or was there? Am I missing anything between this and that?
There's a lot, but this guy I was dating at that point, he was like my first serious boyfriend. He started selling Perk 30s. That's when I really started doing them because he was selling them. He was doing them. So like it was around, and then we split up, and then I was dating this guy for a really long time. And he was doing heroin, but he was away at college. We dated in high school, and then he was living in Utah for a while for college. And then I was at the bar one night and he was in there. He had just gotten home and we started hanging out. And I knew that he had like a past with heroin, but he told me he was sober, blah, blah, blah. So we like got really serious really fast. And we were staying with his parents a lot. And then his parents they had a second house in town, and they gave us the house. And when we moved in shortly after that, I realized that he was doing dope again. He was asking me for money. I was driving him to the dealer's house, waiting outside for 4 fucking hours. So I quickly realized what was going on. He couldn't ask his parents for money. They were like supporting him because they would know what was up.
Had you fallen in love with the blues?
Yes, at this point, I had been doing them for probably a year or two.
Like straight?
Yeah.
Were you ever kicking them, or were you always in them?
I always had them. I remember I got
of him?
sick. No, because of the previous boyfriend. So when this new boyfriend and I got together, I didn't really tell him I had like an addiction to blues though either. You know what I mean? I was hiding my own shit. And so when I realized what was going on, I was like, I'm not paying for this shit and driving you all the fucking time. And I want to try it. Like I said, like I was like always so excited to try the next drug. Like I was never afraid of them. I wanted to try them all.
Drugs had done a great service to you. It was your life at that point.
Yeah, it really was. So
I was the same way. And my road dog was my friend Todd, who died just before Chris died. And it was the exact, I mean, like I really can relate to that whole thing. But so you get a boyfriend who has Percocets, and you find this other boyfriend who also has Percocets.
Yeah. Well, no, he's not doing perks. He's doing dope.
But how did you maintain your opiate habit in the middle?
Buying them from people.
How'd you have money for it?
I mean, I worked. I was going to hair school, but I worked at this pizza place for years. I worked for a Greek family. I'm still like friends with them. But so I always worked and waitressing and stuff. Delivering pizza brings in cash every day. So I always had money. So I was just buying them off people. And my mom was still married to the drug dealer husband. So he had people there. Like he didn't sell that shit, but he always had people around that knew somebody. So there was always somebody I could get them from.
So tell me about the boyfriend who became a heroin addict. Where you guys were living in Massachusetts?
Yeah. And
in North Adams?
In North Adams. And
are you notorious in North Adams?
Wouldn't say I'm notorious because my drug use was very solitary. Like I had a couple people that knew, like I could get drugs from like the older generation who don't talk about that, you know? And so no one really, maybe they did know. And I'm just like, think that I'm being mysterious. Who knows? But you're
not notorious. Okay. That's better.
Yeah.
You move in with him, you get super serious, and he's doing dope secretly.
Yeah. So I found out, and I got some from him, and I tried a bag.
Did you accuse him? And he was like, this isn't good for you? Or did that whole kind of cliche happen?
No, I didn't accuse him. He just pretty much started asking me for money and a ride to go get it. So
he was like, this is great. We can do it together.
He didn't really want to get it for me, though. He's like, this is fucking terrible. You want nothing to do with it. And I was like, you know what? I think I do. So I remember trying it for the first time. I did one bag and I sniffed it, and we had like a game room in the shed out back in our garage. And I remember sitting up there on the stairs. I can still remember it, and just like looking out the window and at the sunrise and or sunset. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was nodding out. I was like, all right. And immediately I was like, this would feel so much better if I shot it up. Because everybody else he was hanging out with at our house was. And I was like, I want to do it. Yeah.
How old were you?
I was 22. And I was like, I want to shoot it up. And he's like, no, absolutely not. I'll leave you if you do that, blah, blah, blah. So what do I do? He's got like a close friend that's a girl that's at her house every day buying, getting dope. And I was like, will you do it for me? So that week she came over, we hid out in my basement, and she shot me up for the first time.
Isn't it funny how that always goes? It's like somebody's like, you should never do it. And meanwhile, everyone's doing it. And then you go to the one person that will do it. And it's like, why does anybody do it? But it's like you do it to share this incredible thing. Like this I know this is going to change your life. And we all know that it's going to change all of our lives for the worse, but we're all in it together.
Yeah.
It's like that. I think that's an interesting thing in itself. Like who shot anybody up for the first time? Did you shoot anybody up for the first time? Probably.
I don't think so, but I think I got someone smoking crack for the first time.
I think that, and I'm going to break for a second, say Dopey Nation, if you ever shot anybody up for the first time, send in an email. Those stories are probably very good.
Oh, yeah. The only reason why I haven't is because I could barely do it on myself.
I have the same problem. I
would have people do it for me as often as I could. Nobody wanted me to fucking put a needle in their arm, like shaking.
So she shoots you up, and are you like, holy shit? Like, what was the reaction?
It was the best thing. It was everything that everybody said it was and more. It's that rush. That's the part. Like the highs are always the same, but it's that rush that you're looking for. And
was it a little shot, the first shot? Was she careful?
I think so. This was like right when fentanyl was starting to be like, oh, we saw something weird is going on, but no one really put their finger on it yet. So it was still heroin.
Yeah.
So it was probably just a bag.
First time I got shot up with was this woman. Like this woman that I worked with, she came to my house and I had never shot up, and she shot up all the time. And I was like, would you shoot me up? And she was like, nah, you don't want any part of this.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, just do it. And I don't even remember her saying, no, you don't want any part of this. And she shot me up and I OD'd.
Oh God.
And she dragged me, like it was definitely not fentanyl. I doubt it was even good. I think it was decent heroin. And she was big. And she dragged me to the bathroom and like put me in the tub and like I don't talk about it much because it was such a weird one-off. And like me and her, like we had a weekend or something and never like we would buy each other dope. I was on a work trip and she sent me a bundle. I was kicking in Austin, Texas, and she sent me a bundle to like because I was working and I went into withdrawal. I brought fake methadone to Austin. But like we never like saw each other again, basically. But that was the first person that shot me up. And then the second person that shot me up was years later. Like I just sniffed it for another year and a half before some dude I left rehab with shot me up. And still though, it wasn't the magical thing until I was doing it myself. So it was, but this lady, when she shot you up, it was a magical thing.
Oh, it was 100%. And then it became a daily thing.
And so how do you live as a daily heroin addict in the beginning?
In the beginning, that boyfriend was just like, had this weird thing. Like I was not allowed to shoot, even though he was. So my daily thing was, I was only doing like 3 bags a day, maybe. Like it was small. I'm a small person. I've always had like a very low tolerance. So I would have to wait until because he was like working for his father at the time a little bit, trying to like do something. And I would have to wait for him to leave. I would have to go find a bathroom somewhere downtown, find an excuse.
Because he didn't know you were shooting?
No. So I'd have to find an excuse to leave the apartment. We lived like in the downtown area and go find a public bathroom, which at the time, the only one that had like a public bathroom that you could lock behind you was it was Papa John's Pizza.
Delicious.
So I would go to Papa John's and shoot up in the bathroom, which is, thinking back, is such a bad idea. Like, I have no tolerance to this shit. I'm doing it for the first time. And then I'd go home. And
22-year-old body was found in bathroom at Papa John's today.
And it locks, too. That's, like, the worst. And then I would do it at the end of the day. I'd find somewhere at the end of the day to go to it. And I would only do it twice a day.
22-year-old white female was found at Cumby today in the bathroom.
Cumbies used to not let you use the bathrooms.
Well, I told you, like, where I went, like, I've never seen, like, a gas station that has, like, the fucking Sharps box in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And that was Cumbies. I'll never say Cumby again. That was the last time I'll say Cumby.
They're going to call you cringe.
It's not nice. It's not nice. So when does he find out, and when do you guys become, like, shooting up together?
We never shot up together. We were together for on and off for 7 years, and we never shot up together. He, like, held strong to that. He found out we'd go to the bar every chance we could get. He was a big drinker. I would just kind of go to make sure he didn't die. And I had like...
Sounds like a really healthy relationship.
It was beautiful. Yeah. We were at the bar and I had like these knee-length boots on and I had my needle in the boot. And he fucking, for some reason,
See,
just
that's
was like...
heroin chic.
He was feeling my leg. It is heroin chic.
That's heroin chic.
Because I was planning on shooting up in the bar bathroom because I could get away from him for a second. He like was like rubbing my leg and put his hand in my boot. Like, why the fuck would you do that? And found it. And he kicked me out of the house for like 2 weeks.
What was his reaction?
He flipped out. I got kicked out of my apartment or house for 2 weeks.
And then when you came back, you were shooting up the whole time, though.
Yeah.
And when you came back, did he think you weren't shooting up?
That's a good question. I think he just didn't want to see it.
And he would shoot up alone and you would shoot up alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And
Yeah,
so
it was weird.
And when do you decide, like, I mean, you're obviously you've been a horrible drug addict from when you were 17.
Yeah.
So like, but now you're an IV. Were you shooting coke too?
Oh God. That was like, I didn't try that until the last couple of months of my addiction. I started smoking crack like 2 years before I stopped. And then a year, like I started shooting coke pretty shortly after that.
I'm shocked you didn't shoot coke when you started shooting heroin.
No one ever brought it up. Like no one ever... I didn't even like think of it as a possibility. And the first time I saw somebody do it, I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And then I tried it and I was like, oh my God, this is a totally different drug now. There's no reason to ever sniff it again.
And that was post crack smoking?
Yeah.
When's the first time you went to treatment?
2018.
And where was that in this story? Was that when you were with that
So
dude?
I went to an outpatient program in Georgia in 2016 or 17, and then I went to an inpatient in 2018.
When did you meet that? When did you go to the farm in Georgia?
That was in 2015 to 2017.
How did we get on that in that world?
So Zach, I was with Zach.
Zach is the Nazi?
No.
He's an Aryan sympathizer?
Maybe.
Maybe, probably. Probably. Shout out to Aryan sympathizers out there. Now, so you're with Zach, and does the addiction get too much for both of you?
Yeah,
Because you rarely hear a story like this where you guys can keep going.
So at this point, he had been doing heroin for like 8 years. And
He's alive now?
yeah.
Good for him.
And he was at the end of he wanted to be done. But he had just gotten me started. I had just gotten me started. So his parents had given us that house. We were both doing dope. Our habits got huge. Well, his did. Mine kind of was just starting. We moved in a Hispanic drug dealer from Holyoke, Mass. That was like the great idea.
Into your apartment.
Into our house. We had this beautiful house. His parents owned their dentist office.
The second house.
Yes. So, I mean, this place had like marble countertops, like immaculate, like fireplaces in the bathrooms.
Hold on, Zach's dad was a dentist?
Yeah, he
was
still
there
is.
Was there nitrous flowing?
I never got nitrous. I think they knew we were addicts pretty quickly.
See,
I mean, they knew he was.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, he would give his wife nitrous just to get her teeth cleaned. And I heard you talking about that the other day.
Yeah. I talk about it probably more than I talk about anything else.
It is funny that you bring that up, though, because I was just debating with somebody the other day if nitrous counts as...
And which side of the argument were you on?
I think it's a relapse.
How dare you?
Unless
How dare you come to this house and speak with your Nazi tattoo to this Jewish home and speak of this?
Unless it's medically necessary.
Listen.
Dentist is fine.
Well, what about cleaning?
Yeah, that's fine.
So it's not a nitrous relapse.
No.
Well, do you
No, but
think
if
I'm
you're-
just doing nitrous
Yeah, if you're like
willy-nilly?
going and cracking open freaking nitrous
What
at
about
home.
you're at home, right? Okay, let me just paint a picture. You're at home and you have your kids and your dog and you're whipped creaming everybody. A little whipped cream here, a little whipped cream here, and then you just take a little hit off the thing.
No, I can't.
Relapse?
That's a relapse.
Well, I'm not doing that. I'm just as a quiz. Okay, but if I go to the dentist,
That's fine.
and I have my teeth I need to go to the dentist. Like it's bad, and I don't want to go without it. Is that a relapse or not a relapse?
Not a relapse.
All right, I agree with that. But Whip It hits off the whipped cream with children, even with children and dog. Relapse. Especially relapse with children and dog?
I mean, I
or
don't
does that
think
make it
that's
more
like
wholesome?
I don't think that's a factor at all.
No factor.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's worse if you're alone and sneaking it.
I don't know. It's all. It doesn't. None of it sounds very good. But I'm not doing that. Now I want to. Okay, so you and Zach and the Spanish which
His name was Lou.
Lou.
I don't even. Who knows if he's alive to this day?
Shout out to Lou.
Shout out Lou.
And did Lou bring the good fiery dope to the house?
He did. We had it, and then his girlfriend moved in with him shortly after. We just had like a whole family.
What was her name?
Oh, I can't remember. She is
Esmeralda?
She's from Vermont.
Okay.
She's like a bumpkin. So
Nice.
yeah, she's still around. I don't remember what her name was, but
okay.
yeah. So we were all living together, obviously, selling for him and getting shit from him. I would love it when him and Zach would leave because she would just go through he had like garbage bags full of bundles, like wrapped bundles and rubber bands.
Way.
And she would go through and we'd flick all the bags and like pick out the biggest ones and do them. So like I loved that she was there because I was like, all my shit was free.
Well, you'd steal from Lou.
She would steal from Lou. I was her accomplice.
But
yeah.
there was no pinch. There's no pinching.
Yeah, I think so because we'd take extra out of the bags. If there's just a bunch of shit missing, he's gonna notice. Yeah.
Right. So you're not doing whole bags.
No,
You're undoing.
we're taking the big ones out, taking half out of the big bags, putting the bags back.
So in an unprecedented dopey appearance, you've pinched Adderall capsules and heroin bags.
And stole cocaine from his stepdad.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
Very good.
You gotta
Notable.
kind of align yourself with the people
You're
that you can get drugs from, or else you're gonna have to spend money.
This is a notable dopey appearance. Okay, so Lou and his bumpkiny girlfriend move in with garbage bags full of heroin bags?
It was insane. It was coming straight in through Holyoke. That's like it's on like they call it the heroin highway. It's the whole
With the Mass Turnpike?
Yeah.
That's the heroin highway?
Yeah, that's called the heroin highway.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah. And so it was
It's
just
like there's the Golden Triangle in Cambodia and then the heroin highway in Massachusetts.
Yep. Come visit.
All right. Well, okay. So dude moves in. How much? I mean, garbage bags full of
wrapped bundles.
That's a lot.
It was a lot.
Was he a junkie?
No. So we would all go to the bar together all the time and hang out. Like it was a party all the time. And I remember one night Lou did some ecstasy at the bar. And we were coming home from the bar at like 2 a.m. We'd walk because it was right down there by our house. And Zach got in like a fist fight at McDonald's. And I had got him out of the fight, started walking back, and he ran back to McDonald's. And at this point, I'm like, fuck this. I'm not dealing with this. So I walked back to the apartment, and Lou was there, and he was all fucked up on ecstasy, and he asked me if I would rub his feet and suck his toes.
Wow.
And I was like, no, you know what? I think I'm just going to go to my room. And so I told Zach about it the next day, and he like blackmailed Lou with this for like weeks to get free dope because he owed him a bunch of money. He'd be like, oh, you try to hook up with my girl, blah, blah, blah.
He's like, no, I just wanted her to suck my toes.
Yeah. So
But what's really the blackmail? I'm not going to kill you. What's the blackmail?
I think it was more of like we're letting you stay here and deal out of the house and everything. And I don't know. Well, he definitely manipulated it in his favor.
It's the greatest thing for any heroin addict. It's the greatest and worst thing for every heroin addict when they can find a way to have their dealer move in.
Yeah.
I remember when I lived in the building down the street, there was a quintessential dealer in my past named Tony Baloney.
Tony Baloney.
And like when you call him up, if he doesn't answer, you hear, "You have reached Tony Baloney," like in the most old school New York City accent. And he like lost his spot, and I was like, "You can definitely live here." And him and his girlfriend moved into my apartment on 24th Street on the floor.
It's a canon moment. You cannot interfere.
You need it, and then like you get free dope, but it's never enough dope.
And it's never a good situation.
And it's always going to get much worse.
Oh,
much
worse.
Because you're giving the keys of the castle to Tony Baloney.
Yeah.
Just never.
I can't believe you moved Tony Baloney in. I've heard you mention him many times.
And his young girlfriend.
How was living with Tony Baloney?
It was short-lived. And I think I asked to suck his girlfriend's toes in a bad situation.
Did he let you?
No, it didn't happen.
Oh, come on.
And I don't remember how it ended. I think I knew it was too bad. Like it was too bad, and it wasn't. I couldn't live with it. I think he was probably in my apartment for a week, and something like that. But who knows? I wonder what happened to Tony Baloney.
You never followed up?
The last time I saw Tony Baloney was like on the West Side Highway after I had come back from some, rehab thing, and we were kind of friendly, but he was mean. You know, he was like a mean, stodgy New York City drug dealer.
I've had one of those. Yeah.
But he's also a heroin addict, so he's sad and lonely and wants to be your friend, but is incapable of really being your friend. I don't know. I don't remember it that well. I was on so much benzos, you know, but Tony Baloney lived in my apartment and in a studio, and him and his young girlfriend slept on the floor, and I slept in a loft bed all in the same room. And I would get up early and do stuff, and they wouldn't get up. Or maybe we would all get up early and do dope. It's weird. Weird time. Because like when I OD'd on that time, it was off Tony Baloney dope. That other woman who revived me, she's the one who connected me to Tony Baloney.
Did she Narcan you?
No, she just put me in the bathtub and beat the shit out of me.
That's crazy that worked.
Yeah. Well, that's how it used to work in the old days. That was the old days. Anyway, I've shared too much of my story in your appearance.
No.
But it's like I rarely get to hear the story of when you move in a drug dealer into the place.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad at first. And then I think Zach ended up owing him so much money. And I don't know how we weaseled our way out of that, but we did. And soon after, Zach went to his parents and told them he was getting high and that he wanted to get clean. And so they came and...
Was the house fucked up?
No, it wasn't. Thank God. They came and he kicked. We both started going. He started doing the Suboxone clinic. I went on Vivitrol, which was back then they made you be clean for a month before they would give it to you. So it was a month of I'm being sick, really sick. But his parents, he didn't tell his parents that I was doing dope too. So I was just like acting like he was the only one that had an issue. And then I started getting really sick and I needed help. So we told them. They moved us.
Because you couldn't tell your mom, like that wasn't going to help.
I mean, I think my mom knew. I don't really know how that all worked out with my family, but we were like really close with his family.
And they had their shit together.
Yeah, they had their shit together. And they moved us into their house. They wanted him back home where they could pretty much watch him. And so I started doing Vivitrol for like I think I stayed on it for a year. But
you stayed on the Vivitrol for a year?
Yeah.
And then like, what was your life like then?
Well, when I went to go get the Vivitrol shot, I had tried to shoot up this pill. It was some kind of Ritalin I stole out of my boss's purse at work. And it ended up it was like a gel pill that you can't shoot up. And I didn't know that. So everybody thought I was clean. And I ended up getting like this big golf ball size cyst thing on my arm. So when I went to go like do my intake for this Vivitrol, I showed it to the nurse and she was like, you should have went to the hospital like a week ago. You need to go. So I went back home to my mom's house, not to his parents' house, did some coke and was like asked one of my stepdad's friends to drop me off at the ER. Went to the ER and they just started putting IV antibiotics.
Yeah.
I like turned bright red. It was so strong, like broke out in hives. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna go because I didn't tell him or his family that this was going on. They're like, you have to stay here for like a week. I ended up being in the hospital for a week or two
because of the infection.
Yeah, it was awful. And then I got in the Vivitrol, and I just kept doing coke and like Adderall and stuff.
And drinking.
And
that was that year.
No, so the Vivitrol, as soon as I started taking the Vivitrol, they give it to people for alcohol too.
Right.
But sometimes it doesn't work for people for alcohol. If I would have one drink, I would be fine. I had 2 drinks, I would projectile vomit.
Right.
Every single time.
Vivitrol's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really an amazing medication.
So he got clean. Just stopped. But he became a everyday vodka drunk. Blackout.
He wasn't on the Vivitrol.
So
what made you do the Vivitrol?
Have you ever tasted a Suboxone? No, it's the worst taste in the world.
What, a pill of Suboxone?
Yeah, or the strips. They have.
No, I have. I don't even remember the taste of it. I didn't do a lot of it.
I would rather get a Vivitrol shot instead of having to take that every day.
But also, you don't have to take it every day.
Yeah,
you get a Vivitrol shot. It does last a month, or it doesn't last a year.
It's a month.
Yeah.
So, but the longer you get it, the longer it stays in your system. So if you did, like I did it for a year, it took 4 months until I could finally shoot dope and feel it again after being on it for a year and not taking it.
Right.
So it builds up. And Suboxone has opiates in it. Vivitrol isn't an opiate. So that's like the big difference. So I had nothing, like I had no kind of opiate dependence anymore on it.
I mean, I think so many people that listen are on Suboxone, and I don't want to. I'm not putting anybody down.
No, me either. But I
I mean,
hats off to you. That tastes disgusting.
And I tell this story too much, but I want to tell you to kind of impress you that I was in the Vivitrol trial in New York.
Oh, really?
They had an ad on the back of the Village Voice that says opiate addict will pay you $300 if you come in.
What?
And I'm like addicted to heroin and methadone.
Oh,
and they
no.
do this opiate thing, and I did it twice in Washington Heights at this hospital.
Did
Columbia.
they give it to you while you had opiates in your system?
No, you kick. I smuggled weed into the kick in the hospital in Columbia Presbyterian. I'm like smoking like tiny hits of the one hit, watching the Malcolm X VHS tape over and over again, exhaling into the pillow. Nobody found the weed. I'm there for like 5 days smoking weed. And I did the trial twice, and you either get the full month of Vivitrol, you get a placebo, or you get like a day, and they don't tell you what you're going to get. So they shoot you up with the Vivitrol, and then I go home, and I think I tested the Vivitrol like 5 times that month, and I never got high.
So you got it.
I got it. It took me like 6 weeks to get high.
Yeah.
So
it takes forever.
I know, it's crazy.
But yeah, so that's what happened.
But so like, what at the end of the year made you want to do it?
I wanted to get high again.
Were you impressed with my Vivitrol trial story?
Yeah,
Okay.
I really am.
I figured that would be very impressive to you.
I can't believe they gave it to you after 5 days.
Maybe it was 7. I don't remember.
They do. It's 7 now, but back when I had it, they made you be piss clean for a month before they would give it to you.
I don't know. It was so long ago. I don't remember. I do remember in a really embarrassing story that I walked from here. This is disgusting. This is like, okay. I walked from here to 190th Street. Okay, this is 27th Street.
I know.
I walked to 190th Street, and somewhere around 80th Street, I had to pee so bad. I pissed my pants on the street walking uptown. Like, just did that. I know it's not that embarrassing.
Holy shit.
It was. I mean, it wasn't just a little bit. I totally pissed my pants walking uptown in Manhattan.
Do you want to hear a really gross one?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
This is bad.
I don't think I've ever shared that on the show before.
Did you make it back home?
I think I checked in. I think I checked in up there. I don't think I made it back home.
Kicking my little feet.
Yeah, I don't think I made it back.
Oh, do you want to hear mine?
Yes, of course.
Okay. One of the last times I tried to go into a detox and they didn't have a bed, so they held me like overnight in the ER. And the next day I left and I hadn't had anything in my system for like 24 hours. And I went across the street from the hospital to pick up a crack pipe and some cigarettes from the liquor store. Was walking down the road to go get some dope and some crack. And I lit a cigarette, and I hadn't smoked a cigarette in like a little bit. Lit a cigarette and instantly realized in the middle of the city, I mean, like I am like downtown Boston, just like in the middle of it. Realized that if I moved, I was going to shit myself. I was in shorts and a tank top with a backpack, like homeless. And the only option on this busy city street was to back into a bush and shit in this bush.
Beautiful.
Have nothing, toilet paper, nothing on me. The only thing I have is this crack pipe and a lighter. So I shit in this bush, pants down in the city. And I was like, what do I do? I was like, I don't have anything to wipe with. So I took the lighter and I burnt the sides of my underwear to take them off. And I wiped myself with the underwear, left them in the bush. I'm staring up at like high-rise buildings. I'm like, there are people in these windows watching right now. And it was just like shamefully had to wipe my ass and had nowhere to like go clean myself up afterwards.
It's like Junkie MacGyver fucking burning the underwear off of you to wipe your butt. Good.
And went straight to the trap.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's go back. You're on Suboxone or you're on Vivitrol for a year.
Yeah, doing coke and drinking.
Doing
and all
coke.
that.
So what was like? Every month where you're like, I don't want to do this again.
No, I was doing it until I didn't want to anymore. I just one time, I think a big trigger for me was I started going to see my mom up in Vermont. She'd moved back to Vermont at this point, and my stepdad was still living with her, and he was getting high, and I think I was just like, that looks really good.
He was getting high on heroin?
Yeah. And I don't think he had been I'd never seen him do it before. So they were, back in the day, they were huge crack fiends, but like never dope, you know? And so that was a new thing that I saw him doing, and I knew he'd get me shit. So I waited all that time for it to finally kick out of my system. It took forever.
Were you
months.
testing it?
Yeah, I kept trying it. I waited like a month after not getting it. It didn't work. I think after like month 2, I finally got to break through it.
It's incredible. I mean, I think the whole thing, I think addiction is just so incredible. And I just think about like the dude at the liquor store who sells crack pipes. It's like, does he have any idea of who's going to fucking show up and the condition they're in? And like, just, it's crazy. It's crazy the stuff that we do.
Yeah.
And then the economies that exist, you know, that live off of what we do. And I mean, we don't need to go down that path. I just have to thank you for coming.
Yeah.
You are a quintessential. I'm not stopping this thing.
Oh.
I'm just in a moment of sheer joy and gratitude that you shit in a bush in Boston after I told you my urinating in my pants on the street. And there were bathrooms there. I could have gone someplace. I don't know why I didn't.
Dave, that's really bad.
I know. Why are you judging me for? What are you judging me for? All right. So
Is this a safe space?
not anymore. I felt safe until you said that. So you relapse with your stepdad.
Yeah, I
And
think
you relapse with your stepdad, and you're going to judge me for peeing my pants in the hand. So when do you wind up? What happens next? The things I need in this story.
Yeah.
We need to wind up with you shooting dope in your
Oh
neck.
God, I've been a drug addict for so long. It's hard to get there.
You're young. Give me a break. But I got sober. I hadn't stopped until I was 41.
When'd you start?
Oh yeah, I started much later than you.
Yeah.
I started when I was like 20. Well, I started smoking weed when I was like 17, and I started doing heroin when I was like 20, 22. 22 it became a thing.
Yeah, me too.
Well, but how old were you when you got sober?
31.
You have to not fuck this up, by
I
the
know.
way. Your genetics are much worse than mine.
Yeah, but I've done a lot of work on myself, so I feel like I'm gonna
Dude,
do it.
I have every confidence in you,
Yeah.
but you need to keep it fresh.
I know. Well, that's what my work does.
Exactly.
People think I'm fucking crazy for doing what I do, but it keeps it fresh.
What I was going to say, though, is we need to get to there.
Okay.
We need the hobosexual, and we need the fucking Nazi work camp and your Nazi tattoo, and we need was the hobosexual the blind guy?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all I really need, and then
Okay.
anything else we can get.
So fast forward a little bit.
No,
but
don't fast forward too much.
No,
Make it
I
smoother. You
keep-
can't say fast forward.
Yeah.
Because then Dopey Nation's like, well, what am I missing?
No, it's just a lot of years of Maria and I getting really fucked up.
Did she become a heroin addict with you?
No, she was just a really bad alcoholic, and she moved down south and got addicted to meth, and then we had to get her back up north. It was a lot of years of that, like just trying different drugs, thinking we could get better from them, couldn't. So I'm with Zach, living with Zach. His thing, I'm not getting sober. He's drinking. He thinks he's sober. He thinks he's better than me. Whatever. So he's like, his sister joined the military. She was a dentist too, and she wanted to travel. So she got a house in Georgia. That's where they based her. And she found out once she got to Georgia, they immediately want to go to basic training in Texas. So she's like, if you guys come down here and house sit. And I'm thinking we're going back home after the 3 months. And I'm like prepping for this. 3 months it sounds short, but then 3 months is a long fucking time. So I'm like getting prepared to go back home. He's like, we're not leaving. We're going to live down here. I thought there were 2 people in this relationship, but okay. So we got a house down there, and I started bartending at this restaurant in town, and the bartender there, her and I became friends, and I was getting my mom shipping me my Adderall and my Klonopin in the mail because I didn't have health insurance in Georgia yet. We moved like right before that we could, right after the cutoff for like when you can apply for new coverage. So after a while that ran out, like my doctor wouldn't send it anymore, like give it to me unless I came in for an appointment. So I asked the bartender, I was like, can you get me some Ritalin? And she's like, oh no, but I can get you something better. Come over to my apartment after work. So I go to her apartment. Her name was Sarah. I hope she's still alive. She was a crazy fucking bitch. But I go and she pulls out a meth pipe, and I had always wanted to try meth. And before we left for Georgia, Zach was like,
I'm shocked that you really always wanted to try it.
Zach was like, if we move down there and you start doing meth, like I will leave you. Like we will not be together.
How could he think that there was anything else that you could do?
It's so crazy that he said it because I was like, oh, now I can try meth.
You're like,
We're
this is
living
the
down
only
south.
reason I'm moving down here.
Yes, this is the only reason I'm going. And so she followed it out and I tried it. I didn't do it again for a week. I was like, oh, that was really weird. It didn't really do much the first time. I don't think I knew how to smoke the pipe right. It's different. I didn't smoke crack ever in my life before that. And so then a week later, I was like, that shit was pretty good. I'm going to try it again. So I went over to her house and then that became an everyday thing. I wasn't doing heroin or anything. I was off of all of that going down there. And she became my best friend, and we'd go to work, and I'd smoke meth in the bathroom at work. I would put it in my vape back then. You had like a refillable tank. I would stick it in there, smoke it out of that.
Hold on. So you would take like shards of the meth and put it in your vape?
In my vape juice.
Is that a thing?
I don't know. It would. So when meth cools down, it recrystallizes, and it would crystallize around the coil, and so it would like burn, so it wouldn't work really well because it would just solidify every time.
But so convenient.
So convenient.
And did people know? Or they were like, oh, is that the new meth smelling vape juice that I've heard about?
Nobody knew. It was, and that went on like that for like 2 years.
I love that.
Sarah
That's amazing.
Is the reason why I got into the crazy situations down there,
And you never shot the meth.
I did twice, and it scared the fucking shit out of me. I wanted nothing to do with it. I hid in my closet for like 10 hours when Zach was on a business trip down there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it scared the shit out of me. So I always just smoked it. And she always said, she's like, the reason why people go into psychosis and like lose their fucking mind is because they're shooting it up. Like, if you just keep smoking, you can enjoy it and sustain.
I found that when I smoked meth, like, first of all, my body was not built for meth at all. But when I would smoke it, me and Todd would smoke meth together, and we would just like get the biggest clouds of smoke you could ever get. And like, and then I would shoot it because I was shooting dope, you know what I mean? And I would just put it together. And like, I hated it. Like, it was not a drug that ever made me feel good.
No, it's terrifying. It makes you scared for your life.
And uncomfortable.
Who wants to do
just
that?
Very I just want to be comfortable.
I just would lay on the bed and stare at the ceiling and be like, when is this going to stop? It was the worst.
Did you seek out downers? Also, I want to know, have you ever met anyone else that put it in the vape?
I don't think so.
Who did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, because I couldn't keep sneaking into the bathroom and hitting a meth pipe. It smells fucking terrible.
You're an innovator. You really are. This is it's what we used to do is we would put tar in our Afrin the black tar into the Afrin, and we thought we were big innovators with that.
Yeah.
This is next level innovation.
You got it. You just got to do what works.
It's pretty amazing.
Thanks.
It really is. It's pretty amazing innovation. So you never sought out downers when you were down there. You weren't like, I need heroin, I need pills.
So that started happening. She was a pretty bad junkie. I had no idea. She had been clean for 2 years. And when she got that meth from me, she relapsed. She was going to, this is funny, she was going to Bonnaroo and she wanted to lose some weight. So she had been sober for 2 years and was like, I'm going to do some meth. So she was like in the middle of trying to lose weight for Bonnaroo, and that's why she like had some.
She's like, I'm gonna relapse on, because like that's a joke. Like that's a joke someone would make.
Yeah.
Like the meth diet.
Yeah.
And she's going to Bonnaroo. I need to lose 20 pounds, so I'm gonna relapse.
Fast diet.
Yeah, exactly. So how much weight did she lose, and how long did she do it for?
So surprise, surprise, she loses her apartment after like
she lost 20 pounds and her apartment.
Her job.
Right.
She lost her teeth. Her teeth started crumbling out too. That is not even funny though. She was a lot older than me. I was like 26 at the time. She was like 36. She was older. She had like 10 kids she didn't have anymore. They all live with her mom down the road. It was
very sad.
The more I got into it, the sadder it was.
It's less funny now. It was funny when she lost weight for Bonnaroo.
It's still funny.
Right.
But so she was like my like, I thought I was a big time like drug addict. And then I got into this world down there and I realized how green I was and like how I didn't know anything. And the guy so I was just meeting all these different drug dealers with her and all these sketchy people. She was like living out of like the projects at one point. And the guy, the Aryan Brotherhood guy, he was just like a guy that we were buying meth off of. And one night I went with him. I was fucked up on benzos and I was driving around with him. He was dealing drugs and he went and picked up his brother from his dad's house. He was like this bald white guy, you can assume. And I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and I remember like opening up a glove box, and there's just a fucking gun in there. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to close that back up. His brother gets in the back seat. I'm all looped out on benzos. We're smoking meth, and they start getting into a heated fucking argument. He's in the driver's seat. Brother's in the
The brother's like, I think blacks are worse than Jews. And the dad's like, are you kidding me? Jews are so much worse than blacks.
Exactly.
Was that the
That
debate?
was the fight.
Okay.
So they're arguing, and I'm like trying to like talk to the brother. I'm like, just calm down. Just calm down. This guy punches me so fucking hard. I've never been hit. I've been hit by a man one other time besides this.
The
But this
driver
guy,
or the passenger?
No, the brother though, because he wanted meth and he wouldn't sell him any, and his brother was losing his mind. And I'm all fucked up trying to tell him to calm down. I don't know either of these people. Really? Like,
How did you wind up in the car? Because you were buying meth from from the one guy.
Yeah, and so he lays me out. I saw stars. I thought it was bad. And the guy was just like so profusely apologizing. He kicked his brother out of the car. And that's how I ended up on the compound that I was on. He's like, come stay with me. Well, they were just doing meth. And I was like, I was getting a tattoo. It turned into, Zach and I broke up. I was moving back to home at this point. Like this had been 2 years of me being in Georgia, just getting high and disappearing. And so my car was all packed up because I was getting it shipped back. So, and I had a plane ticket in a few days. And so I was getting a tattoo. I was getting that tattoo. And so
Wait, what does it say? Death to Jews? What does it say?
It says trust no Jews.
Trust no Jews.
And he's like, I know a guy that can give you a tattoo. And I was like, all right.
What made you want to get trust no one?
Because Lana Del Rey has it. She's a singer.
I know who she is.
Yeah.
You think I'm that out of touch that I don't know who Lana Del Rey is?
Yes.
How dare you? How dare you?
And Zach and I were breaking up after all those years together. I was just like a mess. So I was like, I don't trust anybody.
Trust no one.
Trust no one. Not even me. And he's like, I know a guy you can get a tattoo from. So that's how I ended up going with him to the compound and got that tattoo. And I got this tattoo from these bikers. And I ended up getting stranded there because they stole my car and disappeared.
The bikers?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
I got stranded there for like 3 days, and then the car came back. I was like, finally to the point, like I needed my car. I was just like, I'm gonna have to fucking like report it missing.
So you're just there like doing meth and hanging out.
And hanging out, that was it. And I was like, I'm gonna have to report it missing. Like I had to, and they're like, no, don't do that. So they finally had the people bring my car back, and then I left.
Let me ask you a stupid question.
Yeah.
Like you're 26.
Yep.
You're, hanging out on the and how Aryan Brotherhood were the Aryans in this brotherhood? Like how deep was their ideology?
It wasn't like they were like just sitting there talking about like death to Jews or anything. No, but there was just like a common overtone of like this is like a biker compound. You know what I mean? Like
right,
I understood
us versus them.
Yeah, I kind of understood what was going on but that was, I was just like, all right, this is none of my fucking business. I need to get out of here.
They weren't like really political. They just were like hillbillies or
They
whatever.
were hillbillies that lived in fucking rural Georgia.
Right. Okay. But that wasn't the question I was going to ask. The stupid question I was going to ask is, what do you think if you can take your 31-year-old, how old are you now? 33?
33. No, I'll be 33 Sunday. My birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
What do you think? Because that's whatever, 26, 33, 7 years ago. What do you think your worldview was in that situation? You're like, it's 3 days living in this, Aryan ranch or whatever you want to call it.
His mom lived in a house on the compound.
Did they cook the meth in the compound?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Did you see them cook the meth?
No. There was like different rooms.
Like
there was just rooms I wasn't going in.
Farm to table meth.
Farm to table meth.
Was that a thing?
No. Oh, there was a guy that if you go and buy meth from him, this wasn't on this compound. He lived in up in like the mountains somewhere. He would blow you a glass meth pipe.
Oh my God.
He blew glass. So that was like farm to table meth right there. He would make you your pipe before you left.
The artisanal pipe.
The artisanal pipe.
It's incredible. When I was 26, that was like the Tony Baloney living on my floor era. And I didn't have a worldview. I think my worldview was eventually I was going to get back into TV production and I was going to make it big. That was my worldview.
My worldview, I didn't think I was going to live. I think I had no plan. That's why I was so like at sea, because there was no like future. I didn't think about the future because I really didn't think I would live and past 30 years old. That was my cutoff.
Okay. So you were like, fuck it. I'm here. There's meth. I'll stay here. Your car gets back.
I was literally just living from moment to moment, and I was okay with it. I was so I was high all the fucking time.
Did you have you had the Klonopins though?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just getting benzos somewhere, but at this point, I was just buying them from people. Whenever I would get on a benzo binge, things like this would happen. I would just end up in random fucking places, come 2-3 days later and be like, from a blackout, and be like, how the fuck did I get here? You know, purse full of stolen shit. Like I would turn I would turn into a human backpack. I would go into stores.
You're like a human Instagram Xanax meme.
Yes, exactly.
I would just steal cereal and cookies from the store. I wasn't like, but I would do that rain or shine. So like, but I was so fucking on benzos. Like I was on benzos for, I don't know, like 15 years straight.
They were a treat. Every time I got them, it was like, oh, it's a little treat. And then you just forget how many little treats you have. And you've taken fucking 10.
We called them Relaxo in the best iteration of our treats. Like I'd be like, let's do some Relaxo today. And that was the thing. That was the thing that
Did they make you black out?
I mean, yeah, but I had craved the nod. You know what I mean? So that when I was doing benzos, I just craved annihilation.
So they didn't not make me nod out. They made me I was awake or doing things with nothing going on in my head.
I have no recollection. I think I'm so neurotic. Like my status quo is so neurotic and my brain is such a nervous brain that benzos were like the ultimate medicine for me. And then I would take more because I was an opiate addict and I was smoking tons of weed. So like I don't know that I nodded out on, I would nod out on benzos when I did heroin.
Yeah.
You know, but otherwise I would just like eat them, like as many as I could. And I only stopped eating them in treatment. Like whenever I would get out of treatment, I would start up again. And I had a few prescriptions. But so you're like, I need to get out of here. And you drove back to New York. Like what was the end of that?
No, I had a plane ticket. So I had like a date of when I was going home. So my car was being shipped back.
What was the date based on?
Just, there was no basis on it. It was just Zach and I broke up and.
He went back?
No, he stayed. He was just like, you need to get help. Because I was just disappearing all the fucking time. And I wasn't hiding it from him anymore. I was like, yep, that's the amount.
He couldn't be with you because you were just such a fucking...
Yeah, and I mean, he was a blackout drunk, but...
It's different.
He thought it was different. We both had our own thing. I obviously am still bitter about it, but...
Good for you. Hold on to that. That should serve you well.
Yeah. I've started making my amends to his parents, but...
Right.
I don't... Yeah, he holds a grudge. He hasn't spoke to me not one time since we broke up.
You have no reason to speak to him. No. Pray for him. You know what I mean? Do the next right thing. That's a living amends. But I understand. I understand. I feel your anger. I get it. But talking to him is not going to do you any good, I don't think. I mean, maybe when you're old, you know? Like maybe when like everything, the dust has all settled.
But the why I say that is because I think my sponsor wants me to make amends.
In what way?
Like a conversation. I think that's what she is expecting.
What does she say you should do?
Apologize.
For what?
For all of the things.
But like, give me the top two.
Top two, not being faithful. And I think I beat him up one time when I was fucked up in Georgia. That was like one of the...
Are you in touch with him?
No. He's never spoke to me again.
Have you reached out to him?
No.
Well...
I wouldn't.
What about a letter?
A letter would probably work.
I suggested to my sponsee to make an amend via letter because he refused to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't think he did it.
Yeah, I made an amends to his dad a couple weeks ago.
What did his dad say?
I left it on his voicemail. I had to go get my tooth fixed, and I was going to make it then, and because he was my dentist. And he ran out of the room. He was busy because I had like an emergency appointment.
He's still your dentist?
Well, he's my, he does implants, and he had to fix my implant the other day. And so I didn't have the time, and I said I was going to do it, so I called and left it on his voicemail.
Did he call you back?
No.
See, I think that's a shady in men.
It's not shady.
I think it is.
I did a lot of damage to their family.
I know that's why like a voicemail probably isn't the ideal way to make the amend in that situation.
I don't know.
I think you should have a conversation with him.
Maybe.
I'm not your sponsor. Talk to your sponsor. Okay, so you go home.
I went home.
Were you dying to do heroin again?
I was doing heroin again at that point.
In Georgia?
Sarah, yeah.
So where was the heroin in Georgia?
It was so hard to find. It wasn't bags and it wasn't tar. It was like these hard gray rocks. and you had to buy it by like the gram. Instead, we're using, bundles is what I'm used to. So I never knew how much I was actually doing, and I never knew how to get it myself. So I'd have to get it through Sarah, and it was always through some shady ass person. So I was doing it and addicted to it again, but meth was mostly my favorite thing at that point. So I came home. It was Halloween. I had to fly home on Halloween in 2017, and I went to my mom's house because I didn't have anywhere else to go. And I stayed there for a couple weeks until I kind of like got my shit together a little bit to figure out what I was going to do. And Maria was sober in AA and stuff. She went to a sober living in Canaan, Connecticut. So she was like connected with Mountainside and all that up there. And she's like, you should move up here and get sober and do all the things. And it worked for me. It could work for you. So I was homeless, living out of my car up in Great Barrington for like a month. And then
What year was that?
it was the winter in 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think that's right when Chris left Great Barrington and moved to Boston. But all that crew was still there. Do you know that crew?
I know not Jeff Woods. Colin Woods. I have a Jeff Woods where I live now.
And Dylan Woods?
I don't know if I know Dylan. I worked with Colin's girlfriend at Allium on Railroad Street, and I got a job there. The manager at the time, I was living on his couch. He was Maria's like best friend. So I got connected up there. I started going to meetings. Meetings at Mountainside and all the other places, and had a job and had a place to sleep, and just kind of worked until I could get an apartment. And I got like a subsidized apartment right downtown in Great Barrington. It was like $400 a month. It was a really good deal. At the time, I didn't realize how good it was, and that was like when I kind of got into treatment and everything. And then I relapsed again. I think maybe like 3 months in.
Did you get sober?
So I did for a couple, like 3 months in Great Barrington, relapsed.
Hold on, you come home from Georgia. You're strung out on meth, probably strung out on heroin. You probably have your Klonopin prescription and your Adderall prescription.
No, that was gone.
So all that was gone. So when you come home.
There's no meth in Vermont.
Right.
It was gone.
So that's gone.
That's gone.
Heroin.
I wasn't doing dope at the
You just
time.
kicked it.
Yeah.
And everything is gone, and you're just like, okay, I'm going to try a new way of life.
Yeah.
All right. So you do it.
For like 3 months. I went to meetings, got a sponsor, hung out with only sober people. And then the restaurant that I worked at would do dance parties once a month. And I got drunk at a dance party one night, and that was it. Once I started drinking, there was this guy that hung out at our bar at my job that I knew sold drugs, started getting coke, and just the whole thing played out again.
Who are you with? Who are you around?
So I was hanging out. Maria and I really weren't even hanging out at this point. She
was sober.
Yeah. She had me move up there. Well, asked me to. I agreed. And then she kind of just like, I got my apartment. She never came to my apartment, not one time.
Do you think she thought you were just still fucked up?
No, I think maybe a little, but I think Maria and I had such a huge past. I think she had this whole new life, and I think she was like a little terrified that I was going to like out her to all these people, and
like heard everything she had done.
Yeah. And stuff that, she didn't want them knowing. And I think there was a part, I don't know.
It's also reliving it probably.
Yeah. Who knows that she's like just really mentally ill too. So,
shout out to Maria.
Yeah. She'll probably hear this.
So how does it get bad again?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. Okay. So I found the drug dealer. Then he introduced me to this like.
Did you start dating him?
No.
Okay.
No, we were just hanging out. He had just gotten in a car accident and had broken his neck, and he was in like a halo.
Right.
And
Isn't it sad how funny those things are?
It was hilarious. And he was
drug dealer
like,
with a halo.
You know Great Barrington, like it's a bunch of wealthy people that have nothing to fucking do.
I don't know it well. I think I've been there like a day, but I know that it's nice.
Somehow I get introduced to this older lady whose husband was pretty well off. He owned this factory in town, and she had access to like, they were buying
like a sandal factory or a hammock factory.
They were making tile. Like they make all the tile for like Versace
nice.
stores and stuff. And I get hooked up with her, and she's a fucking mess, and I was a mess. And so we hung out all the time. And they were buying their dope off the dark web at the time. So I didn't know. I was just doing coke with her, and she's like, "Oh, I do fentanyl." Like they were just buying fentanyl, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting."
Was she an older lady?
Yeah, she was like 50
Older,
something.
wealthy,
yeah.
Great Barrington. And
Yeah, and that was the first time I shot up coke. We were doing coke together. I had shipped all my stuff there. I wasn't doing needles or anything at that point. I had reached into the pockets of one of my coats. I found a bunch of Xanax, and I found an old rig. We were doing coke, and that's the first time I shot up coke. I was like, oh, you can actually, like, I'm going to try this. And then I was like, oh, this is amazing.
did she do it too?
No, she never used needles. But I started getting fentanyl and stuff from her, and then we hung out every day. And we started doing the thing where we were doing benzos. She had, like, bottles of benzos. We were doing fentanyl and coke and ketamine. I was doing a lot of ketamine at that point. I found a ketamine dealer.
What did it look like?
It was just crystals. It's just, like, little powdery crystals. And
They sell it in bags or in
yeah, you buy it by like the gram.
I never bought ketamine.
Yeah, you got to be careful with it.
I'm thinking about getting treated for my depression with it now.
Yeah, it's worked for some people.
I'm just kidding.
No, really?
I'm not getting ketamine treatment now. I'm not that depressed. I'm all right. I'm just joking. But I never really, I only did ketamine a couple times, but I've always been interested in how you buy it.
Yeah, it's like crystals. It looks like meth, but it's not like huge chunks. It's like little shards.
In a little bag.
Like in a coke bag.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're doing coke, fentanyl, ketamine, and you're just shooting the coke and the fentanyl.
I was sniffing the coke too, but yeah, I was shooting it. And it got to the point where we were doing all these different drugs, and it was like clogging up our nose. So we're like, how can we do this and do it all at once?
Are you boofing it?
No, we started doing the nasal bottles.
Okay.
Putting the coke and the fentanyl and the ketamine, all of it, mixing it up in the spray.
This is incredible.
And we would just use that all day. And that was when I had my first OD.
So you weren't impressed with me putting the tar in there because you're creating a new drug in your nasal spray.
Yes.
And then that's when you had your first OD.
Joey.
Yes.
Joey, he reached out.
Shout out to Joey.
Shout out to Joey.
Yes.
Hadn't heard from him in years. He was that first boyfriend that got me addicted to blues, the 30s.
Yeah.
Joey and he were best friends. So we used to hang out doing blues all the time. Hadn't heard from him for years. He's like, I'm living over in New York. I need heroin. I can't get heroin here. He had a DUI. He couldn't drive out. So he's like, I'll pay you to drive me to Pittsfield and get some dope. And I was like, okay. He didn't know what was going on in my life. We hadn't talked in forever. So we go to Pittsfield, pick up some dope, go back to his apartment in New York, and I shot up a bag, and I was sitting on his floor. I think that motherfucker stole my shit.
Joey?
Yes.
I'm sure he did.
I shot up a bag, didn't even pull the needle out, and I
You were out.
Because I had been, he didn't know I had that nasal bottle full of all that shit. So he didn't realize I was doing all that on top of what we were doing.
You know John Lennon, right? John Lennon from the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
He had a little, the mortal and pestle things where you beat up,
Yep.
He had one of those things, and he would throw, LSD in, then he'd throw coke in, he'd throw heroin.
LSD.
And he would just be beating the whole thing down, dipping his pinky in, and eating it like that. So you're like the new school version of John Lennon with ketamine, heroin, and coke in your nasal spray.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's
It was
incredible.
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 I thought I was like,
dude,
a genius.
You might be the biggest dopey innovator we've ever had on the show. You've had many innovations. You put meth in the fucking vape.
Yeah.
You have a mixture. Did you have a name for it? How come you? That's a mixture that needs a name. It's some kind of speedball with K. Like, I don't know what that is. A curveball? I don't know.
A curveball. That's good.
It needs a name, and you're nasal spraying it. Then you cop dope for Joey, go to Pittsfield, take a shot, and you're fucking down.
Yeah. And I think Joey, he was doing dope and stuff, obviously, but I don't know if he'd ever seen anybody overdose. He had no Narcan at his house, so he called 911. And I remember just because I was on the floor sitting at the coffee table, and I wake up and I'm laying on the couch, and there's EMTs standing over me, and they're like, we just had to Narcan you 6 times, like screaming at me. And I'm like looking at them, and I look at Joey, and they're like, do you want to go to the hospital? I'm like, no. I ran from the living room into Joey's bedroom, locked the door behind me, and just fell asleep in his bed. And I woke up the next morning. He must have just not bothered me. And I go out the next morning, I'm like, because I had a whole bundle left. And I'm like, oh, where's my shit? Because I had it on the table. And he's like, oh, they took it.
He did it. He
did it.
He definitely did it.
I've tried to call him out on it, and he's like, I would never do
You know
You
he
fucking
did. Joey,
did,
you
Joey.
fucking come on. Let's be honest here. But did you have the bottle with the
Yeah, I
with the
still have
mixture?
that. Yeah, but I left his house at 10 in the morning. I'll never forget it. And I called my mom and I was like, I need to go to rehab. Like, it scared the fucking shit out of me.
The first OD.
Yep. I was like, I need to go to rehab. So I drove myself straight to the emergency room, checked myself in, and my mom showed up with clothes for me. And she was like, all right. And I went to rehab. And I had every intention of staying clean.
Where did you go?
I went to McGee Detox in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. And they sent me to their CSS program, which is the rehab up there, and which is a 2-week program.
Was this the spot that banned you ultimately?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
making
I've been banned.
Shout out to McGee's.
I've been banned by both of them.
Okay.
I'm sure now I'd be welcome
back. Yes.
Let's just hope I never have
I went
to.
to Mountainside, and now I paid them to take care of me, and now they pay me to advertise
I
for them.
can't believe you went to Mountainside.
That's where Dopey
I didn't
started.
have enough money to go to Mountainside.
Well, I come from a very affluent Jewish family. They gave us some kind of deal. We got some kind of scholarship.
Some Jewish deal?
Well, don't tell the people in Georgia, but I think some kind of Jewish deal was made. No, I think you can get Jews tend to find deals. And I went to Renaissance in Delray Beach, and we got 3/4 off or something.
Did you do a scholarship program?
Yeah.
Okay.
We did scholarships. I think Mountainside was when I went, I think it was $12,000. And I think my father paid for it, who I kicked out of here
Was that for a month? Was $12,000, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the AccuCare that they had just set up when I was up there. It was $10,000 a month for a month of AccuCare, which is the step down program they have.
Right. Chris was in Mountainside for 6 months.
I know. I had a friend that was there for 2 years.
Right.
2 years.
I think we paid $1,000 a month for the month I was there for the year, for the next year. When I say we, my father paid for all of it, and I never paid him back. Just to be clear about my accountability and how much my father has taken care of me in my life.
Yeah.
And I still blame him for my drug addiction and whatever else I can find to blame him
That's
for.
not very sober of you.
It's fun, though. It's such a good time for me. I know. I don't really blame him. But when you look back at childhood memories, sure, we weren't, passing the Coke tray around on Christmas Eve or at the Passover Seder. But every memory I have of my childhood was in my room watching television. I think they gave me a TV with cable in my room when I was 8.
Same.
So I think we should blame both of our parents. Your parents were way worse than mine.
I spent way too many years blaming my parents.
Listen,
I'm
don't
done.
be so sober on Dopey. Have a little fun. Let your freak flag fly. But okay, so where were we? You were in McGee's.
I was. So I went to the rehab and met a boyfriend.
A shocker.
Yeah, shocker, right? We grew up together. He was from my hometown of North Adams, and
North Adams is beautiful, by the way.
it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a shithole, but it's not at the same time.
It's not. It's very picturesque.
It just depends, I guess. If you grew up there, you'd hate it too.
Well, I didn't. I grew up in this apartment. But we drive through North Adams every summer. With my family, goes to my dad's upstate, his palatial upstate compound. And then we go to Mass Mocha and shit and drive around North Adams.
Yeah.
So we like it.
So
Sorry
I
for that. But
went
that
back to my
scenic detour.
apartment.
Hold on, back to your apartment. No, we're at fucking McGee's, and you're falling in love.
Yeah. And so when it was only 2 weeks long. It's not very long in there. I do the whole program. I'm convinced I'm going to be sober when I get out. I really think I'm going to be.
Did you have sex in the treatment?
No.
Okay, I'm just asking. Don't give me that face.
And then
I've never had sex in treatment either, but I like it when people do. I think it's very exciting.
no, I never had the balls to do something like that.
Okay, I'm sorry for asking. I just think it's exciting when people do it. I've never done it. I'm very I think it's gross and it's ballsy, but I think it's very exciting also.
Oh, it's just a bunch of trash bags.
I know, but there's something very, romantic about it. The laundry room. And anyway, people
That was the place at our rehab.
every
too.
rehab.
Is it? Is that a thing?
Yeah, Dopey Nation, if you guys have ever fucked anybody in the laundry room at your rehab, please send in an email or a voicemail to Dopey Podcast. Anyway. Actually, no, but I did have sex with somebody while in treatment, but I was already in halfway.
You were in a program afterwards?
Yeah, in Delray.
Yeah. In the halfway house?
Yeah.
How did you get away with that?
I don't know. I smoked weed in the
Did they
halfway house too.
They have cameras?
No.
Oh.
No, I don't think so.
My halfway house had cameras.
Well, it's probably for the best. So you go home.
He visits me at the apartment. We start hanging out a lot. Somehow, he talks me into giving up my apartment.
Is this the guy who had impaired vision?
No.
Okay. How was this guy's vision? Decent?
I wouldn't say the best. Better, but not 100%. He talked me into giving up my apartment, moving into his and his mother's house and back in North Adams.
What would that do for him?
To trap me there pretty much. It wasn't a good situation. But so I do that, and literally like 2 months later we started doing dope together. Of course, right? Because we started drinking together. Once we started drinking, started doing dope.
How soon after you left did you start drinking?
Like immediately.
Right.
I was like, I'm not. I was still convinced I wasn't an alcoholic. That took until now. That's always been like my like, as soon as I take a drink, a fucking, cocaine starts sounding so good. So that's always like my gateway is the alcohol. So at this point I still wasn't an alcoholic, I thought. And so we started drinking immediately and started doing dope. His mom went on vacation. It was in the summertime, and at this point it was still already pretty bad because he was trying to get into the methadone clinic. I'd never heard of methadone before. It's pretty new. So this morning he had left because you had to go wait at the methadone clinic to try to get in. Like they would do intake days and you'd have to wait in line. So he went at 4 a.m. to the methadone clinic, and I was home at his house. And
wait, hold up. Why was he on the methadone? He was just addicted to methadone.
Our drug use had already gotten so bad again that he was like already thinking that he needed to get off of dope again. So like he was like, I'm gonna go get on the methadone program. And he left, and he's like, don't get high while I'm gone because I would overdose. And I did. And he got back. Wasn't answering the phone. So he drove back to the house. He just had a feeling. And I had been on the floor for like 20 minutes.
You had overdosed.
Overdosed.
He was totally right.
He's 100% right. He gave me Narcan and gave me rescue breaths, called 911 while he was doing it. He managed to get me back with the Narcan. And when the EMTs got there, they put me in the car. They gave me Narcan again while I was already awake and talking to them. It was so fucked up. I was so sick. The neighbors told his mom, and we said that I got stung by a bee because I have anaphylaxis to bee stings. So he told them that I got stung by a bee, and he had to call an ambulance. And we got away with that for then. And then we kept going like that, he and I. And
just using, you mean?
Yeah, just using. And
so you explained the OD with, I got stung by a bee and then went into anaphylactic shock.
Yes, that's
great. I love that. It's amazing.
And it's just like a bunch of bullshit. We got an apartment together, and
why didn't he just move into your apartment in the first place?
Because he wanted to stay in the area. I have no idea, Dave. Like, none of it made sense. Oh, that's why. Because I lost my license in Great Barrington because I got in a high-speed chase with a cop and got arrested, got a dangerous driving charge, and lost my license for 8 months. So I moved in with him.
He drove you around?
I think so. I don't think he had a license either. So he drove his mom's car around. I had to park mine. I got in a high-speed chase, so all of that happened. I needed to get out of Great Barrington. I got arrested. I had to get bailed out over that girl. You can Google that one. That one's pretty awful. She killed her dogs and left them in a hot car, and then called me the next morning to go get her. And I brought the dogs to the vet because I had no idea what was going on. Got arrested driving away from the vet's office from the police.
Because you had no license.
No, that's why I lost my license. No, I was all fucked up. I was on Xanax and my magical mixture.
You were on the
Yes.
So what, was Xanax in it now too?
Yes, it was from the beginning.
So it was coke, heroin, Xanax, and ketamine and
fentanyl too. Yeah.
And fentanyl.
Yeah. So that's why I left Great Barrington.
Did you call it the magical mixture at the time?
No.
You were just like, that's my shit.
Yeah, that was the shit. Yeah. The spray, the nasal spray.
The spray. Did you go like this? Did you use with anybody at that point?
Just her, just the
Would you go like this when you wanted to?
Yeah, exactly. You gotta make the face.
Pantomiming the spray.
So
I love that. You're a fantastic dopey guest. I knew you would be fantastic, but you've exceeded my expectations.
I drove a car through a building one time.
When was that?
That was when I worked at the Greek pizza place.
Spray or no spray?
No
Pre-spray.
Pre-spray. I was just doing Adderall at the time, drinking at work.
You were drunk.
Yeah.
So you were drunk driving on Adderall.
I drove my car through a glass storefront at work. The store next door.
It's bad.
Yeah. On the job, too.
So what happened with these dogs?
So we were partying all night together, her and I.
Did you share the spray with her?
Yeah, she was the one I was getting it from. So she went to her husband's house in the middle of the night to go sleep there. She had her dogs in the car. She would always have her dogs with her. She had a big fucking Mastiff and a tiny little French Bulldog, and she always had them in the car. So she went to his house, and she was so fucked up that it was summertime. She left the dogs in the car and passed out in the house. Wakes up at 10 in the morning. The dogs are dead in the fucking vehicle. She's freaking out. The husband is there and the husband's brother. She calls me to come up there. And I'm like, wakes me up out of a dead sleep. We had been up partying all night. So I don't really know what's going on. I'm all fucked up still. I'm zanned out. I go up there and she's crying and screaming. One of the dogs they had already buried, and the other dog, she's like holding it. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I didn't realize that they'd been dead a while. So I threw her in her Tahoe, and I threw the dog in the Tahoe, and I drive to the vet's office and get the dog out of the car. She's crying hysterically in the car. Give the dog to the vet. They call the police immediately. Police are there. I'm getting in the car to leave. And the cop's like, pull over. I'm like, no. I was like, fuck. So I just drive away. And then the cop's chasing me. So I'm going like 90. She's telling me to go to her husband's like factory. We run in there, hide. The cops know her. She's lived there her whole life. She knows her husband. They know her husband. So they came in the factory and like pulled us out and arrested us. Her father-in-law had to bail me out of jail. Lost my license. And then, so I was like, all right, maybe it's time to leave Great Barrington.
So where did you go?
Stayed at Tyler's, went through all that, got overdosed there. And then we got an apartment. And that's where all the rest of like the never use alone and everything happened, was in that apartment.
But where did you meet the guy with no vision?
So I went back to rehab a couple times.
Hold on. So you're with Tyler? Were you with Tyler then?
No.
So this is before that?
We got into a domestic dispute and he got kicked out. I had to get a restraining order on him.
You had a fight.
Mm-hmm. And so we never hung out again, never spoke again. He moved out. I kept the apartment. His mom gave him her house, so he was fine. And I kept cycling in and out of rehab. When
was the homeless shitting in the bush period?
So this was like right before I went to rehab. I tried getting into rehab a couple weeks before the last time. They wouldn't take me. That's why I ended up back out. So that was like right at the end.
And what happened to the trap house days?
So that is like when he moved out, I kept the apartment. I was in and out of rehab. So when I lived at that apartment is when I started smoking crack and shooting coke and going to trap houses. Matt Ryan, the homosexual in rehab, he had nowhere to go. Let him stay at my house.
Hold on. You're ruining the whole bit though. You need. So you're in rehab again, and you fall in love again in rehab.
Yeah.
Would you say it wasn't falling in love?
It wasn't falling in love.
Was it infatuation?
It was infatuation. It was loneliness.
And how was the man's vision?
It wasn't great. He couldn't drive. He could not see to drive. He didn't have a license. He was wanted. He shouldn't have been driving anyway.
He was legally blind.
Yes. And he could see if he was sitting here with you and looking at you, but he could not get behind the wheel of a vehicle and see,
So remind me of this. What was the story with him, though?
So we meet in rehab. He goes into a male sober living house. I still have the apartment. So he gets out before I do.
And that's the apartment you wind up dying in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I get out. I go to meet up with him. He was going to take me to dinner. So I go to pick him up from his job. He works in like an auto body place. And we're going to go to dinner. But instead I said, how about we go get an 8-ball of Coke instead? He had never smoked crack or anything before. And he's like, okay. So we went and got an 8-ball, got a hotel room. He got kicked out of his sober living. Obviously, he didn't fucking go home. So I felt he was like, all right, well, you have nowhere to go. You're going to have to come stay at my apartment. So that's how that whole thing started.
And when did you come up with the phrase hobosexual?
After he left.
Because he basically used you as a place to stay.
Yeah. And he would like threaten to leave all the time when we'd be fighting about drugs. And then I was like, I'd always be like, no, don't leave. And then one day I was like, you need to fucking leave. And I kicked him out. And I look outside. He's sitting on my front porch after
Did he have
2 hours.
Did he have a bindle on a stick?
A big duffel bag, a big gym bag, like with sitting on the porch with it. And I realized this motherfucker has nowhere to go.
When did it occur? When did the phrase hobosexual occur to you?
When I found out that he is like living with this
Somebody
girl.
else now?
Yeah, this young college girl. He was way older than me. I'm like, this motherfucker is a homosexual.
He's lived the life.
He has. He's been doing this a long time.
Did you share the spray with him?
No, he wasn't around for that.
The spray is, I mean, like if I was going to relapse, I'd want it to be the spray.
I got him smoking crack. He'd never done it before.
I'd want to shoot the spray though. Did you ever draw up the spray and shoot it?
No, I was shooting ketamine at the time though, like just by itself, but not the spray.
Why didn't you ever shoot the spray?
I guess it never occurred to me.
I think that's a problem. That's a problem for me that you never thought to shoot the spray.
I don't think I'd want to shoot a Xanax. That sounds terrifying.
They're supposed to not shoot Xanax.
Yeah.
There's always Xanax in the spray.
Yes.
All right, well, that's a good reason.
Yeah.
But shooting ketamine, crack, and heroin as itself sounds like a thing.
Yeah.
That sounds like a thing.
Yeah.
Is this bad for your recovery?
No.
Is it bad for mine?
No, I do it maybe.
I don't know.
You seem to be getting pretty excited about it.
I like the idea of shooting the spray. So then you kick him out.
I did.
And who knows what happens to him. What happened with his license?
He signed himself back into rehab because he had nowhere to go.
What was the story when they call for his license and all that?
So I got kicked out of that apartment finally. I'd been there for like 3 years, 2 years, I think. And the landlord lived downstairs. And I had some very unsavory characters coming and going at all hours of the fucking night. And the landlord finally got fed up. And I had no lease because it was month to month. So they're like, we can give you a notice to quit, which is like 90 days to leave. And I was like, I'm not leaving. And I didn't go to the court date. So they had the sheriff come and serve me and they gave me a date. And then I forgot all about it because I was a fucking junkie. And at 4 a.m. on like May 18th of 2021, I believe it was, 22. Yeah. They kicked in my door, the sheriff and the landlord's son. And they're like, you got to go. And they're like, we're going to pack up all your shit and put it in a storage unit. And I was like, all right. So they came in and I had this tackle box, this pink tackle box on my kitchen table full of syringes and dope bags and all that shit. And I lived by myself, so I didn't have to hide it from anybody. They walk in and see all that stuff.
Oh, boy.
And they're like, we can't have anybody come in here and pack stuff up. This is like a hazardous site. We need hazmat suits to touch anything. There could be open needles anywhere. Like, I didn't live like that, but they were just being pricks. And I mean, I don't know. It was a difficult situation. So they let me pack up a suitcase and get the fuck out. So I had my whole life in this apartment, everything from like Georgia, everything from forever. And I packed a suitcase and went to my mom's with my dog and Ryan. My mom lives in a little shoebox
Blind
apartment.
Ryan.
Yes, Blind Ryan.
Did you ever call him Blind Ryan to anybody?
I started calling him Car Crash Carl after that's what he's still saved in my phone as. I have him blocked now, but yeah.
Had he been reaching out?
Yeah, he tried a couple times to get, I had his
back?
ID. No, he wanted his ID so he could sign into the methadone clinic.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
the story.
he has mine.
That's the story that I wanted. Tell that story. Because we didn't use that on the show. We just put it on the Patreon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So we all got in the car like the fucking Beverly Hillbillies and drove to my mom's in Vermont. My stepdad, they weren't together at the time, and he had just gotten evicted from his apartment a couple days previous, and I didn't know this. So we show up at my mom's house, and Richie's already living on the couch, and there's no space in this place. They have a dog. So there's
Wait, who's Richie?
My stepdad.
Okay.
So there's my mom, Richie, Ryan, and I, and 2 dogs in this little housing. She lives in like a housing development. And it was just a bad scene. I had no money to get high.
They were getting high.
My mom wasn't. Richie was. My mom has been really trying to get sober for a long time. She wasn't doing anything. And she just enabled the shit out of Richie.
And you.
And me. And so I was staying there, and it got to the point that she couldn't have people there. It was like,
too bad.
It was an apartment building it was like housing and public housing. And so Ryan and I got in a fight because I want to go get drugs from somebody, and we were doing laundry. And he was like, you're not going by yourself. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to get anything if you're with me, so you're not coming. Like, at this point, I was so sick of this person. He never had a job. I supported his habit the entire fucking time. I was just wanted him gone. I was
He's
like,
a world-class junkie.
Yes. I was like, I need you out of my life. So I leave him with the car because he's doing laundry. I leave my phone. I just really didn't care at this point.
Was he very good looking?
Yeah.
He was very good looking.
He was very good looking.
Blind, very good looking, lived off every woman.
Yes.
He's a junkie hero.
He's got a couple kids here and there
No
everywhere.
way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old do you think he is now?
38, I believe. 39 maybe.
Shout out to Blind Ryan, Car Crash Carl, wherever you are.
And so I leave and I go back to my mom's later, or my dad's house. My mom, he lived right down the street from my mom because that's where I left my car. My dad's like, no, Ryan came here and got your car. And I'm like, what do you mean he got the car? He can't fucking see. Disappeared. My phone doesn't have cell service. We were like using it off Wi-Fi at this point. So I can't call him. He never shows back up. And I got lost just like getting drugs, getting high. And I kind of just forgot about it for a little while. And then I was like, wait, I really need my car. A week goes by, nothing from Ryan. Uh-huh. So I go to the police station and report my car stolen. I was pissed. I had no love for this person at this point. It took 2 weeks. The cops finally located my car. They call me. I was living in Vermont, like around, and the Massachusetts cops call me. They're like, does the name, what was his brother's name? They said his brother's name. Does this name sound familiar to you? And I'm like, yeah, that's his brother. They're like, well, that is the name we got from the person. We found your car. It got wrapped around a tree at a roundabout down here in Williamstown. You know Williamstown. You know the roundabout?
Yeah.
And when you come from Vermont,
yeah.
He just kept going straight and hit that tree. Yeah. It's so great that you know where it is.
Yeah.
Totaled the car, broke his arm, broke his leg, gave a false identification. He didn't have his ID on him. So the car was totaled. He was on the lam. And that was it. He fucking disappeared.
And he had your ID.
He had my ID. He had my phone. And a couple weeks later, this is weird. This is how this all ties together. He ends up going back to that rehab that we met at. I didn't know it. I ended up going to detox again, tried again. I signed myself in. They gave me Ativan, and I got all fucked up. And I was cheeking the Ativan, ended up getting all fucked up in the detox. Out of nowhere, Joey messages me. He's like, I'm at McGee. And I was like, no fucking way. I'm at McGee. And he's like, I'm about to get paid at midnight. Do you want to leave tomorrow? And I was like,
he knew you were there.
Do you think?
Of course he did.
He was there, though.
He had to know.
There was no way. I had no phone.
You think that was a God shot?
I do. How did he sign up?
He knew you were there.
He didn't. There's no way. There was no way.
He's like, meet me in the laundry room in 20 minutes.
So we both signed ourselves
I have Ativan. It's amazing.
I ended up, the girl that I was roommates with, I don't even remember her. She was my roommate in the detox. I ended up making over to the rehab a couple weeks later. She was at the rehab. She's like, I was your bedmate in detox. You remember me? I'm like, no. She's like, you gave me some Ativan. You really helped me out. But so we signed out the next morning, go back to Bennington. My car is gone.
You left with Joey.
Yes. But Ryan was over at the rehab. Ryan texted. I had a new burner phone at that point. Ryan was like, I was like, hey, I'll give you a new phone if you give me my iPhone back. So I go there. I knock on the door. The director knew who I was. Obviously, he's like, I can't say that he's not here or not. I was like, well, if Ryan's here, he has my phone and I'm going to give him a phone. So he has Ryan come out and I take the iPhone and I was like, go fuck yourself. I didn't give him the other phone. And that was the last time I ever saw him.
Wow, that's what you did?
That is what I did.
You said, go fuck yourself?
Yeah.
What did he say? Baby. What did he say?
Baby, exactly. Come on.
Did he say that?
Yes.
And then you just left?
Yes. And I never saw him again.
Wow.
Yes.
And then did you shack up with Joey or no?
No. We hung out before for a while.
And then you moved to North Adams to the old apartment.
I went back to my apartment, yeah. And
how did you get back after all that hazmat business?
Oh, wait, no. So at this point, I was just living with my mom. No, I didn't go back to the apartment after
Where
that.
did the whole never use alone come from?
That was at the apartment.
That was before all this?
Yeah, that was before.
Oh.
So this was like Ryan after.
Right.
Ryan.
See, we'd love it. We'd love it if after the never use alone story, you got your shit together.
Yeah, Ryan, I OD'd and Ryan had to revive me like a week after the never use alone thing.
Right. So what was the end of the run?
I was homeless. I went back to Bennington with Joey.
Shitting in bushes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's when that happened. Yeah.
How did you get sober?
So I ended up going back to Pittsfield with a drug dealer. That's where the rehab was in Pittsfield. And I was homeless up there. Like I literally had nowhere to turn anymore. I was at like the end of my rope. My dad, my mom wanted nothing to do with me. They were threatening to section me. Do you know what that is? In Massachusetts, you can actually, if someone is in danger to themselves, you can have them put away 90 days against their will. That's like a Massachusetts thing. And so they were threatening to do that to me. And there was somebody that worked at the rehab that I had known for a long time. And they let me stay at their house one night if I agreed to like go to detox. And I don't know what changed. I was homeless. I was in a trap house in Pittsfield. My wallet and everything got fucking stolen. And then I saw the girl the next day and they acted like nothing happened. They took everything.
And you knew it was her.
Oh, yeah. It was just her, I, and this other guy in there. Like, yeah. So I stayed at their house that night, and I went the next day. McGee had a bed, and I had been up for so long smoking crack and getting high, like doing dope. And I was kind of like a little bit, I felt like I was in psychosis a little bit. And I went to they told me I could come in. So I went down there, signed in, and I just remember sitting at the desk with the lady who was doing my intake. And they ask you all like the crisis questions first. Like, are you going to harm yourself? Do you feel suicidal? Do you want to hurt somebody else? And I don't know why it clicked. All of a sudden I just looked at her and like I was about to like do all the things, like lie to get, say I was an alcoholic to get like the Ativan and all that stuff. And I just looked at her and I busted out crying, like hyperventilating. And it just was like, yeah, like I really want to die. And I really did. I realized that I was like killing myself on purpose. I had nothing to really live for. And they flagged me for crisis. So I had to go sit in a glass room for like fucking 15 hours before they let me go to the detox. And I just had like a full mental breakdown in there and realized I had to like think if I wanted to, what I wanted to do. If I keep going down this road, I'm definitely going to die. Do I want to die? And so I was like, I really have to try to give this a shot. And everything, I mean, you know the story from there. Everything just fell into place. I was talking to somebody yesterday and we were going through that time period, and I realized from the time I decided I was going to get sober to like the time I got pregnant for my daughter. So in between there, I went into a halfway house, got into AA, got a sponsor, only hung out with sober people, and and by the time I got pregnant, my whole life had changed, and it was only 6 months. My entire life had been it was completely different. Like it happened quick for me. I don't think I was just ready after a long time of not being ready.
No, when I got sober, I moved in. We had a daughter. I had a 5-year-old or a 4.5-year-old when I got sober, and I moved in with her when I had 6 or 7 months, and like my life had totally changed too.
Yeah.
So I can relate to that.
I had to get out of the town I was in. Me and my mom are so codependent, and I had to finally admit that I needed to get away from her.
Doesn't she live with you now?
Yeah,
okay.
But I'm different. Everything is different now. Just my stepdad is in jail, and I'm hoping this might sound controversial, but I want to try to keep him there as long as possible. He's like a lifetime drug addict, and
he's probably doing better there too.
He's doing way better there. He's doing all these programs, getting so much help, and I'm going through a whole thing with that. Him trying, you know how it is when someone's in jail, they're trying their hardest for you to get them out, And my mom is doing so well, and her health she's terminally ill. So that's another reason why she lives with me.
What does she have?
Well, she had COPD, and now she has like late stage emphysema, and they think she has tumors in her lungs. She's actually in Albany right now today getting a biopsy on the tumors. So
scary.
Yeah. So life is different now.
Well, listen, you do amazing work. You came here and destroyed the universe. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I would love to come back.
It was so cool to have you here. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
I had a great time.
Your story is fucking incredible.
I hope it comes out well. It can be a bit all over the place.
It's going to be.
It was a long time.
It will be fucking legendary.
Thank you. And toodles for Chris.
All right. I feel very, very, very great about this episode. I hope you guys do too. If you have anything you'd like to send to us, you know where to send it. And if you don't, dopeypodcast@gmail.com. If you listen to the whole episode, send a review to iTunes. Make it 5 stars. Maybe say something not that nice about my dad. We love that. We love that. Look for my dad coming to the show very soon. What else can you do? Join Patreon, follow us on social media, yada, yada, yada. Stay strong, Dopey Nation, and fucking toodles for Chris, and thank you for listening.
My father was a gambler down in Georgia. I wanna take a walk around the world. I wonder would it do me any good? Until I get some money in my pocket, then I guess I'll just have to walk around my neighborhood. But I wanna be good so bad. Wanna be so good, so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. And I wanna take a ride up in the sky. Watch as aeroplanes just pass me by. And I wanna see a Lear jetliner take a dive, just to show all of these people what it means to be alive. But I wanna be good so bad. Wanna be so good, so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. And my shadow's getting smaller and smaller. And it's time to know where I stand. Shadow's getting smaller and smaller. And it's time to know where I stand. And I wonder would they pay it any mind when I leave this busted city far behind. I'll take the high road, however far it winds, because peace and love are very, very, very hard to find. And I wanna be good so bad. Wanna be good so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. Damn it, all these suckers make me mad. And it's all I ever had. And it's all I ever had. And these suckers make me mad, and I wanna call my dad, and it's all I ever had, and it's all I ever had, and it's all I ever had. And it's all I ever had. And these suckers make me mad, and it's all I ever had, and I wanna call my dad, and it's all I ever had, and it's all I ever had. And it's all I ever had.